Yes.
Vixen.
Here.
Clauser.
Here.
Hauser.
Here.
King.
Here.
Salvia.
Here.
Trent. Here.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we have public comment, scheduled and non-scheduled presentations, and we will start. Are we set for Shelley? Jason helped you. Okay, so we have a presentation from Shelley Thompson, Lennon, Executive Director of Paint a Miracle. Welcome, Shelley.
Thank you so much for having me. Well, I am the Executive Director of Paint a Miracle, and we are an art studio for adults and children living with disabilities. We have been in downtown Rochester for almost 24 years. So we are this little hidden gem, and we are actually in the lower level of the Rochester Knitting Mills. And we have been offering classes, workshops, exhibitions, and opportunities for our artists to sell their work for, like I said, about 24 years. We have partnerships with a number of local organizations from Rochester School District, Troy School District, Avondale School District. We do all of the adaptive programming for, arts programming for RARA. We partner with New Horizons of Rehabilitation to do art classes for their consumers. We also have partnerships with Paint Creek Center for the Arts and the OPC. We're actually going to be working with the OPC on memory cafes for individuals with dementia. So our roots are pretty deep here in Rochester, and we love working with other groups and collaborating and doing all sorts of workshops. And so I'm going to show you a video. It gives you a, because I can't take you to the studio, it brings the studio here, and it also gives you a little bit of background on who we are and how we got started.
I think you might
Do I have to
You
do
have to
this?
click it,
Sorry.
yeah.
Do I
He
just-
can help if you need
Do I
it.
click
Jason
it?
can come up.
Sorry.
It says
That's
go
okay.
for it.
Please, I encourage you, come to Paint a Miracle, learn, take a class. Because when you leave here, you're going to be an artist.
Well, I'm not sure if Ryan is the official spokesman for this group, but he would do a great job. The class he's encouraging you to take is at Paint a Miracle in Rochester. It's an art studio for those with special needs that's really going for it, creating something really special. But the art is also giving back to the artists.
This piece of art I did a couple of days ago is a landscape I did with acrylic paint.
Ryan Gray is a lot of things: enthusiastic, passionate, creative, which all seems like the makings of an artist.
We have a mountain range, as you can see. We took some acrylic paint and made nice rocks, and we have some trees.
Except the artist part came later.
I love coming here because this place gives me a chance to do something I like to do.
Here is Paint a Miracle, a modest art studio barely noticeable on the ground floor of an industrial building in Rochester. But what's happening inside, everyone should take notice of. Paint a Miracle is an art studio and safe place for people with different abilities, like Ryan or his friend Carly Guy.
It looks like a Christmas tree.
Carly has also found her passion, and her mom, Mo, says it's helped her find herself.
What really has happened over the years is she's learned project management, she's learned to slow down, and she's learned to do things in steps. This is the only place she can come to where she owns everything. Every decision is hers. Everything she creates is hers.
Shelley Propson Lennon runs the nonprofit and says while art is their project, a supportive community shares the canvas.
It gives so many people that otherwise don't have a place to go, a place to be, a community to be a part of. It gives them a sense of family.
This isn't just for fun either. These artists are earning commission. Every year, Paint a Miracle hosts an exhibit displaying thousands of pieces of art. and now a year-round exhibit at the Busy Buzz Studio in Rochester. 40% of the sale goes back to the studio to pay for more supplies and cover the cost of classes.
Our goal is to remove any barrier that might keep someone from taking a fine arts class, be it a physical barrier, a cognitive barrier, or a financial barrier.
The other 60% goes back to the artists like Carly, who sees this check as more opportunity.
Camping, take some for bowling, take some for bus cleaning, for work.
So what's happening here at Paint a Miracle really is amazing, giving opportunities to people that would sometimes be looked over. But how this place got started is also an amazing story.
When I was 15, my dad was hit by a drunk driver, and he suffered a catastrophic brain injury.
That crash put Dale in a coma for months. When he came to, he lost his eyesight. His wife spent years trying to find hobbies until an aide brought him to an art studio.
It changed his life. I mean, it gave him a reason to get up in the morning. And so one day he looked at my mom and he said, Annie, we need to start an art studio for people like me. I have 3 younger brothers, and my mom and the 4 of us siblings and my mom, we looked at each other and we thought, you know what, Dad would have made this happen before his accident, so we're gonna make this happen.
So 21 years ago, the first miracle was painted. And 21 years later, something miraculous happens every day.
It's really important to give them the dignity that they deserve.
You might think, oh yeah, that's pretty good for someone with this or that disability, but honestly, it'll knock your socks off.
These people in Paint a Miracle give me the inner zen that I need to have a good day, to do something important.
He's got the inner zen he needs. If you have a story that embodies our go for it,
So that gives you a little bit of insight into who we are and what we do. Just to add a little bit more, we serve artists of all ages and abilities. So some of our artists have traumatic brain injuries, like my father did. Some of our artists have autism, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, ALS, Parkinson's. I mean, we serve just such a wide, diverse group of individuals, and if you can't afford the classes, we tell you to come anyway. That's what we do the fundraising for. It's our job to make what seems impossible possible. And the kind of the background he gave you a little bit, you saw some of the images from the event we have in the spring at the Royal Park Hotel. We have about 2,000 pieces of art that we bring to the Royal Park Hotel. Last year we sold over $27,000 worth of artwork that then those commissions go back to our artists. So please spread the word. We are always looking for instructors. We're looking for classroom volunteers, individuals with a really rich art background to help our individuals. And then we want to serve the community. So we want to serve groups that serve artists or individuals with disability, people who maybe think that they don't have an artistic bone in their body, but they just really want to have a sense of connection and a place to belong to and a sense of purpose. Send them our way, please, because we love being part of the Rochester community. My dad's car accident actually happened on Livernois Road right in Rochester, so it's really kind of fitting that things have come full circle, and here we are serving the community. And that accident was 41 years ago. So thank you for having me. Does anyone have any questions?
I just wanted to say I've gone to your event, I've shopped the product before, and there's so many choices. The quality of the work is wonderful.
We have so much fun. I mean, we love, all of us, we love what we do, the staff, the volunteers, and really it's the artists that make it special for all of the artists that come, because it's just so welcoming. And anyway, thank you.
Anybody?
If you see Ryan, tell him my wife and I miss him at Hollywood Market. He was the best checkout guy.
I think we all miss him at Hollywood Market.
Yeah.
I will. I'll tell him you said hi.
Right, thanks.
Anyone else? No? Okay, thanks, Joe.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your time. All right, so the second on the public comment, scheduled, non-scheduled. I just saw Bob Bloomingdale walk in, so if he wants to come up. He's going to talk about the 501 building. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. Robert Bloomingdale.
Can you state your address, please?
I'm sorry?
State your address, please.
6360 North Rochester Road, Rochester Hills, 48306.
Thank you.
I'm here to inform you guys formally of a group that we're working with. We're now calling ourselves the Harrison Center, and our purpose and intent is to repurpose the old admin building into a community center. So I'm a little bit late because I just updated the Board of Education, Rochester Community Schools Board of Education, on where we're at with it. Back on November 10th, I went in front of the board and asked them if they would table any action on the building until we had an opportunity to make a full and comprehensive proposal to them February 23rd. So we're now 2 months toward that end. And our intent for the building, as I said, is to create a community center. So a building, a facility that would be available to the community at large. So we have in this plan 4 areas of focus. One would be what we call community health and well-being. It's your typical community center nonprofit stuff. It would be services for people who need something spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, socially. So that would be a focus of this, and we're currently recruiting nonprofits that would provide those services. Another one would be community engagement, big one for me, because that building, the whole main level with the auditorium, the atrium, and whatnot, in my mind is a perfect place to have community events, which could be movies or talent shows or speaker series or whatever. In fact, interestingly enough, the school board has asked, if we make a deal, could they have their school board meetings there? And we said maybe. So it's a great place. It's, everybody has the impression that the building is in horrible shape, which it kind of is, but kind of isn't. Another area of focus would be art and culture. So Tekla Rhodes is on our team. She is the chairman of the Paint Creek Center for the Arts. Yeah. She's on several creative boards and whatnot, and that area is assigned to her. Back to the community health and well-being, Sue Keels is taking on that responsibility, if you know the name. Mm-hmm. Sue was the director at Royal Park for years. If we are successful in this, Sue would then probably become the director of the building. So she would manage tenants and all of that stuff. And then the fourth area, which is near and dear to my heart and probably all of us at some point, is what I'm calling community security. And that's kind of a weird thing, but it's simply this. It's a study of what causes antisocial behavior. Antisocial behavior in the extreme is some kind of gun violence. Somebody drives a pickup truck through the front of a church or whatever. And there's a lot of research out there, a lot of study. And so our thought is to put together a group of grad students, whomever's studying psychology, whatever, and pull together and condense what research is out there, what can we learn from it, and how could we develop some kind of plan or opportunity to insert ourselves in the path of somebody bent towards that, or pull them into our sphere where we might influence it. Hard to know whether you're successful at that, other than if it doesn't happen, maybe you were successful. So on our team, as I mentioned, we got Tekla Rhodes, Sue Keels, and James Vetrano. If you need somebody smart, it's 1-800-DIAL-JAMES. So we got James on our team as a consultant. Clint Pleasant from Rochester Christian University is on there. He's, as you would probably realize, very connected with young people. Tom Johnson is on our team. He's a consultant. He was the lead in providing and pulling together financing for the Webster community in Pontiac. If you're familiar with that, they renovated a former elementary school, about 58,000 square feet, They raised $37 million to do that.
Wow.
So that's like, kudos to Tom. And then another one is Dominic Morelli, not a name you probably know, but Dominic was vice president of Life Remodeled. Life Remodeled did several projects down in Detroit. The last and legacy one is the Durfee Innovation Society, which is not dissimilar from what we're trying to do. So Dominic is on our team. And let's see, and then some local guy's name is Noah, who interacts a lot with high school youth, so teenagers and whatnot. Our overarching focus will be everybody, but especially youth, especially young people. A place to gather, a place to get together, and what can we do to help them out? So that's kind of it. We've studied the building. We've been at it for a couple of months now. Didn't get much done between Thanksgiving and New Year's, as you can imagine, but still some progress. The atrium is a wreck. The roof is going to need replacement in a couple of years, within a couple of years. Elevators are questionable. So there's work to be done there, but it's not insurmountable. So this is really as quick a summary as I can give you and update if you have questions. We intend to now be much more visible to the public. We may take out some kind of, advertisement or something in the community lifestyles or the Post or something, but start to bring people in. So, any questions I can answer?
Councilmember Salvia.
Thank you, Bob. So is there, you mentioned advertisement in the newspaper. Is there any other ways that council or the public could get some more information, maybe ahead of that, or a website, a Facebook page, anything you could suggest?
So, with respect to the Board of Education, because they're the Board of Education, we haven't done much of that, but we're prepared for a Facebook page. We have a website, we just haven't done anything with it. Tonight is kind of the kickoff for all of those things. So, being the non-tech person that I am, I'm open to suggestions and help of any kind.
Great.
We also have, I wanted to say too, is Tiffany DeZerman is working with us. And as you know, and we have resolutions from all three local historic commissions, the Rochester Historic Commission, the Rochester Avon Historic Society, the Oakland Township Historic District Commission, all saying that they express an interest and a desire to preserve the building, which we would do basically 100%.
Okay. The second question I have is probably for administration. I hope this isn't a curveball. City Attorney, would the use that has been described at a high level be considered a change of use?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know what because I think it's residentially zoned. So it would take some work to figure out how to classify what Bob just said, and to put that into a use, and whether that comes back through a rezoning situation to make it a legal use, whatever that use may be. Because I know schools are always one of those oddball uses that fit into residential, but this wouldn't be a school use as much as a community center, which there's categories for that too. So we would certainly work with and take a look to see how that could be facilitated if it moves forwards, for sure.
Okay.
Councilmember Trent.
Yes, I talked to Bob once or twice about this, and yeah, I'm really impressed with the team that you're putting together, and I like the fact that you've got the guy who started Life Remodeled in is it a middle school or high school in Detroit?
It was a middle school. It was Durfee Middle School.
Durfee, yeah, and I've been there several times.
If you ever go there,
I have been there. I just always forget what it was.
District, fantastic school.
And it shows you it can be done. That's what I see, that what you're talking about can be done and has been done.
They actually are fully leased and have a waiting list.
Yep.
And actually, so does Webster Community in Pontiac.
Yeah, those
fully
are.
leased and have a waiting list. So we're kind of hoping that will reach that same level of
Well,
interest.
just tell them to come our way, right? Come your way, right?
Right.
Get that waiting list.
So then the next steps, because I know you've been meeting with some of the board members and the superintendent, now you were there tonight. So at the February 23rd meeting, formal presentation, at what point do they give you an answer? Do you talk about the purchase? How does that roll out?
My thought is that we will present them a convincing enough case, well, they'll want to enter into negotiations with us. As anybody would have to, they have to justify what they do. So, it's dollars. If they asked me, are you willing to pay for the building, or do you expect us to give it to you? And I said yes to both. So somewhere in there is something that, we see it as a benefit to the community. We have suggested to them that they would consider reinvesting the property in the community. Community's already paid for it, community already kind of owns it, it's in their portfolio, get it all, but they have to justify what they do. So I think from that point, interestingly enough, when we asked them in November for February 23rd, they extended the stay of activity on the building until May. Mm-hmm. So they've allowed a couple of months, I believe, for negotiation and a lot of paperwork. There's always a concern about, well, what if we fail after 6 months? What would happen to the building then? So we're working that into the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you for the update. Yeah, it's exciting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Somebody's
Sorry. Come on up. Please state your
Well, I
name.
compliment Vito Pampalone and Vito Anthony Holmes. I compliment Bob on all the work he's done on it. This is a very difficult project at best. My concern is that is one of the premier sites remaining in the city, or maybe even the premier site in the city. And what happens there could dictate what's going to happen up and down University over the next 10, 20 years. Because a lot of redevelopment of some of these existing single families could happen. I think making a decision on this is probably one of the most important decisions that'll be made in this city for quite a long time. I've looked at that building and read up on the structure and the asbestos and the condition. I don't even know if that building is habitable. So, we wouldn't want to get into a situation where we got people occupying a building and they're in there getting sick and we have a problem, a major problem. In addition, I think that piece of property right there could bring in $500,000–600,000 a year in property taxes. I think it's a wonderful spot. And I think with the existing zoning, which is residential, could be a beautiful small village of higher-end homes that would complement the city. And, we'd have residents living there. They would be patronizing the businesses. But I think it'd be something that, we've got the greatest downtown in the state. This would be a project of just perfect, beautiful, custom executive-type homes, and I think would be beautiful. So I think when we make a decision on this piece, it's a long-term decision. I don't know if nonprofits pay any taxes. I'm involved in a lot of nonprofits. I sit on nonprofit boards. I raise a lot of money for veteran nonprofits, so I'm familiar with that. But I think this piece of property, the decisions that have to be made, we should make them with a lot of things in mind. Financially, aesthetically, like I say, that building, I'm not convinced that building, I would even walk in it or spend a day in it. So just some things to keep in mind as this thing goes forward. I wish Bob a lot of luck with it. I know he's put a lot of work into it, and maybe there's some merit to what he's doing, but I think, in my opinion, I think there's a better use and a better thing that we can look back at a couple years from now and go, wow, that's beautiful, and that'll set the pace up and down University, which is our next development corridor. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other public comment? All right. So we're going to move to the approval of
Mayor.
Oops, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Yes.
There's a caller online, ending 651, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Okay. Caller?
Hi.
This is Jane Turner. I'm Parkdale in Rochester.
Hi, Jane.
This wasn't why I was calling to begin with, but believe me, I started at that school in 1954 when it was a grade school, junior high, and senior high. I really respect Bloomfield for trying to do something with it. It's not an eyesore, and we don't need more houses. That's my comment for that, but that's not why I called.
Okay.
When we had snow very early this year, or last year, leaves did not get picked up. Is there any promise that maybe leaves could be picked up at the curbside in the spring?
You just think,
I can answer-
okay,
I can answer.
the city manager will answer that.
Hi, Jane. Yeah, so we talked about it at staff meeting. Obviously, the snow came early. A lot of the stuff in my own house got plowed up over on the sidewalk between the curbs. So yes, in the spring, we'll do that. Actually, every time we have a warm-up, we're trying to get back to the community right now. And then they got my street a couple days ago. So yeah, you might not have to wait till spring, but they're going to come back and go through the whole town again and try to get the curbs cleaned up. Sooner the better, obviously. It's tough on the plows when it's all baked down like that. But we spent a lot of time now in these last two storms. The guys just literally spending 24/7 cleaning drains because once the leaves free up in the gutter, they're getting to the drains, then blocking them once they freeze. So it's all hands on deck. That's what they're attempting to do now.
Is that good,
well, the guy across the street from me has leaves out at the curb. My guy to come rake my leaves was coming the day it snowed. Is there any chance that I can get my leaves picked up in the spring once we can get them raked?
Yeah, if they're in the gutter now, we would get them, but.
No, they're not. They're under the trees.
Oh, probably not.
That fell from the water tower property.
Yeah, no, that's different. So no, once we cut off that date, we don't do it. It's for the stuff that's in the gutter now that's causing a safety issue. But there's a lot of folks that don't do their leaves ever, and then we can't do this year round. So the answer to that, unfortunately, is no.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the call.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So with the stuff with Mr. Bloomfield, sorry, Bloomingdale, are there other groups presenting to build houses, or is that just in theory? I mean, are there multiple groups, or is this the only group presenting? I was just curious.
I think he's the only group.
So no, there are no, we asked them to table all action on the building until they hear our proposal.
Okay.
And that's what they're doing. They've agreed to that, and they're going to wait until May until they do anything further with the building.
Okay. Thank you.
And I would say that we have an extensive report on asbestos, and the only concern about asbestos would be in fire doors, which may have them or may not. Everything else in the building is clear.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other public comment? Okay, now moving on. The approval of the okay, absolutely.
If I may, Mayor, Council, so you've heard about, I got my new fire chief. Yeah, that's okay. We have our new fire chief on board. Chief John and Mr. Demoff have been working together for a week now, over a week. And I really thank Chief John for working together. We're trying to get Scott up to speed. So we're going to formally, what's my right word? Swear him in at the last meeting in January, hopefully, because we want his family to be here. They couldn't be here tonight. But tonight I thought if Scott could just come on up for a minute, Scott, just so I could introduce him to everybody formally. Folks watching on TV in the audience, you can meet Scott. I couldn't tell you how pleased I was as we went through this process to land a gentleman like this, his family values, his mental state, his religious values, everything about him. He's just a total package. He's the experience that he's had, which he can go over for a couple of minutes here, in the past, puts him in a perfect spot for this community. And what was important to me to make my selection was what Chief John has set forward. He's made the fire hall a community center. And there's a lot of fire chiefs that we interviewed that said, you want me to cook or have pancakes and PJs or do code? What? They didn't understand what community meant. And immediately when I met Scott, now Chief Demoff, that that didn't even cross his mind. It's like, let's go. So I want to, if you take a second, Scott, tell me your background a little bit, and then we'll do a formal swearing in, and then we'll have the community invited to that also at that time. But Mr. Demoff.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. Good evening, Honorable Board. I do want to thank Nick, thank Chief Cieslik for the help as I come on here. So a little bit about myself. I've been in the fire service since 1997. Started my career in Brighton, and then moved my way down to Redford Township. Did my 25 years down in Redford. The last 10 years has been as fire chief. Done a lot with the community down there. Built a new fire station. Wrote a bunch of grants for a ton of money with the assistance of one of my grant writers. So that brought a lot of extra equipment to the township free of charge, which is always a good thing, no matter where you're at. So I enjoy the fire service. I enjoy the community. Rochester, I've been here numerous times. It has that community feel. The residents is why we do this job, right? It's for you. It's not for us. It's for you. We're here to protect and serve you. That's our job. I enjoy kids coming into the fire station. If the smile on their face makes me smile. It is what the job is. And so I look forward to continuing that process. I am married. I have 4 kids. 2 of them are already grown, married, one of them, and one's an ER nurse at U of M. And the other 2 are in college. My younger daughter is going as a nurse, and my younger son's playing college basketball.
How tall is your younger son?
My son's 6'7". Sorry to say it that way, but so he plays college basketball. So most Saturdays I'm traveling to watch his games on the west side of the state. So at least he's in Michigan. So I am looking forward to the community. I'm excited to work with everybody. It's a great city, and I only want to make it better. So anything I can do, my phone's always on, my door's always open. If you have any questions, please stop by and see me. Thank you for the time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, now the approval of the consent agenda. Consideration to approve the minutes from November 25th, 2025, December 8th, 2025, and December 15th, 2025 meetings, and the receipt of the check register report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support?
I'll support.
Councilmember Trent, support?
Yep.
Right?
Yes,
You
I
did
did. I
support.
supported.
And- Okay, yep. All right, we're all set for that. And we take a vote. And a
Jones.
little- Yes.
Vixen,
Yes.
Clauser,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Okay, there is no old business, tabled items. We are going to move on to public hearings. The first one is the public hearing to consider the adoption of a proposed brownfield plan for the Trails of Paint Creek redevelopment project located at 704 Woodward Avenue. We are going to start with City Manager Banda.
Yes, Council, thank you very much. Next step in this year's process, I believe I could say safely, that started with a request for a multifamily building and rezoning on Woodward, Ludlow in the area at the old Solaronics plant to build apartment buildings, a mega process, a mega project. After working with the residents, the planning commission, it's gone through a lot of different iterations, and ultimately, the plan was approved for 44 condominiums adjacent to the Paint Creek Trail, where the Solaronics building is today. So that building's got a storied history, many owners. The last owners and the present owners are the Rushes that had a lighting company inside there. Closed it, moved to Auburn Hills, didn't have enough room. And we've gone through the planning commission, I think saw 5 different iterations of what might be there: indoor dog parks, an axe throwing place, a sand volleyball bar, some pretty radical things, and because it's a very difficult property. So initially, it was assessed for a cleanup. Thought the cleanup was about $480,000. When our developers came along, based on the scale of the project they were asking for, it appeared that they could work that number into their project, and they had not intended to do a brownfield. As we went through the process over the year and a half, I believe, and it got down to 44 condominiums, all the environmental work that was done past the initial review showed about a 3.1 million, and we'll go over all that in a second, cleanup of the site, much more vast. That's to clean up adjacent to our DPW, adjacent to the Paint Creek, our designated cold water trout stream. So the state, we talked about this last meeting, so we're just kind of reiterating what we talked about last time. The state set up a program for properties just like this in urban areas to clean up sites. You work through a tax increment process through the Brownfield Authority. We set up our own Brownfield Authority. We've had 2 successful brownfields. Rewald did his headquarters on a contaminated site and paid off that process quicker because of the property values were high. Right now, the elevator site is going through the same thing. It was very contaminated from the same contaminants that were at the Rochester Mills site and around to the Rewald headquarters. So the next step is the developer comes in, presents a plan. They have their consultants. We have our own consultants, which are on line tonight. Our whole teams, their team and our team, are both here for any question we have tonight. It was a 147-page document, I think. You created the Brownfield Authority to do the digging and the dirty work on this. So they went through a series of meetings, and they're here tonight again, and I appreciate that, gentlemen. And we went through the details, the numbers. How do you get to this reimbursement agreement? And as the chairman and our members talked about last meeting, this is really a loan against future taxes. So people, when they hear you're going to pay the developer, or some people think we're going to clean up the property, it's like $2.97 million to pay. Again, as they go through, I don't want to blow your presentation here, team, but they are fronting the money. They will build the product. As the product comes online, the county assessor will assess that property. That will create taxes. And in this ask for 11 years, we will take their own dollars, pay them back for the cleanup. That's monitored by Eagle, by our consultants, by their consultants. Everything's got to be, it's airtight as you can get, as transparent as you can get. There's attorneys involved. There's environmental engineers involved. There's all kinds of stuff. So it's the highest oversight I've ever seen. I've done, this would be my 19th one that I've done in my career. And every single one of them has worked. Every single one has worked. You clean up the property, you get back to the tax roll. So in 11 years, the property goes back for full taxes to all the jurisdictions. So the schools play, the state plays, the DIA, there's the DDA, not DDA, DIA and the, thank you, the zoo and then the parks millage. Those aren't capturable under the law. So there's a bunch of nuances to that. But in general, it's a partnership that the city and the developers work together to try to clean up a dirty site. And that's what we're here for. So if you may allow us, we'll have the developer go through a brief presentation. It's kind of what they did last time, a little more succinct, but you've had, that's a lot to digest. But again, your Brownfield Authority went over all of that stuff and worked out numbers and verified numbers once, twice, 3 times. There's also a reimbursement agreement that, right there, that we have to take action on that. On top of a brownfield, and this is a straight brownfield, they can talk about the history. They've had some setbacks, not from us, but from Eagle and the state, where $1 million was promised. They took it back. $200,000 to clean up a vapor burial. The state said they wouldn't pay for that. So they've had to fight the state as much as us, not because of their project, because of what happened with direction that the state got now to do with residential, condominiums versus apartments. It's been a journey together. We've all learned this together. So the Brownfield Authority is an independent authority. They don't work for them. They don't work for us. They evaluate the information. They work with our consultants to make sure everything is proper legally, environmentally, structurally, so that we will be able to get through the process at the state. The state has final say in all these good things. And tonight, we're looking for action to take a vote on this project, the Brownfield project. The site plan is approved, not part of this discussion. This is the project that was based on how we calculated what the taxes should be at the end of this. Again, you don't know how the market's going to be. You don't know the final price points until they're done. But this is how you do all Brownfield plans are. You take your best estimate based on formulas of construction cost, all that good stuff, and then you plug that into a figure that you come out with how long is it going to take you. I will say this, when the developers first came in, they were looking at a 15 to 20-year plan to get their money back. We like 7, max 10. So we negotiated, the Brownfield Authority negotiated to 11, where we felt that could get them reimbursed. We could get this cleaned up at a baseline of not assuming they're going to be $3 million condominiums, but a realistic number that this will work. So we're confident, our team's confident that the numbers that are in the charts that y'all got will be able to play out. I'll say this last thing. The entire risk of this project is on them. If they don't build what they need to build, they have to clean this site up 100% before they can put a shovel under the ground. They can dig and clean up, tear the building down. But if they didn't build anything, then they've just lost $2.97 million. So I think that's the point. We are never on the hook for one dime. We get our money in 11 years if everything goes right. So I think I need to be very clear on that. This is nothing, not a taxpayer's dollars spent. Even the attorneys that were hired and the consultants, that is all eligible reimbursement from the state. So they're paying for our attorneys and our consultants and everything at the same time. So it's a great tool. The state of Michigan's done wonderful things using brownfields, and hopefully this is our next one. But if you will, Madam Mayor, if Doug could
Please
introduce
state
himself.
your name and your address and welcome.
Doug Amborski with Champion Development Group out of Howell, Michigan. And we have to stop meeting this way. We're 5 years into this, I think.
5, wow.
But we're really excited to be here because we think that we have found a way forward. This is a brief presentation. 90% of it you've most likely heard bits and pieces of. I've tried to frame the presentation in an order that would help put some of the bits and pieces of what you may have heard into context, into what it means. So first, a little bit about us, Champion Development Group. Len and I go back close to 30 years. We've done a lot of work in Michigan and Florida, including development, including brownfield and contaminated site. In fact, our whole philosophy is taking difficult sites and really making them better for the community. And we have a long history and hundreds of millions of dollars of doing that. We're very selective also about what we do and where we do it. A little bit about the property history from what our team has researched. It goes back 150 some years. Paper mill, a sugar company, there was some filling, there was fires, there was insulating, and then the past 70 or so years, and the most recent of those being Solaronics, and they were a manufacturing company that make infrared heating systems, and that's what they've been doing that. Regarding zoning, historically, the property, dating back to when it was right along the railroad spur, was industrial, like that little pocket is along Woodward. We had it rezoned to RM1, residential multifamily, in 2024 to accommodate the proposed 45 townhouses that are our project. The project history, Nick zeroed in on a couple of the highlights, including the axe throwing bar. There was, I guess, some tiny home community at one time, self-storage. We came along in 2022, and it started off with a 4-story, 108-unit, really attractive building we felt good about. The neighborhood they thought it was a bit too massive, and so we cut a floor off, went down to 88 units. We spent a year or so, trying to see if that might work. That didn't really get any better response. So we looked at, well, instead of a for rent, which was our initial goal, let's just build 45 new homes and sell them. And then we come and go, we sell the product, and you get 45 new long-term families, and we're out, and you've got a wonderful improved site. So that's where we've landed. This is the approved site plan. 45 townhomes, 2.5 stories, 2,500 square feet, private garages. Down at the bottom there, full site isolated stormwater management system. Right now, any stormwater or groundwater just kind of flows wherever gravity takes it. with the managed stormwater, we will collect all that stormwater underground, hold it, and then slowly release it. The isolated part is that we have to literally build this in a swimming pool of sorts so that any groundwater, contaminated groundwater, can't get into the stormwater that could then get into the system. So tremendous long-term, sort of a forever improvement on the environmental aspects of managing stormwater. Here's some eye candy of what the townhomes will look like. You know, the net of really what we're doing is adding we believe, significant value to the city, not just in the tax base, but it's just a wonderful piece of property. It's why we've frankly stuck around for 4+ years, because other than the fact that it's got some contamination, it's just next to the trail, next to the creek, next to the park. So now, as far as environmental assessments, we've hired PM Environmental. 2 of their representatives are with us here tonight that can answer questions for you. And they've done a phase 1 environmental report and a phase 2. And from those reports, that's where the scope of what's needed to clean up the site, the dollars, the estimates, the process, the TIF tables, the 11-year, all of that has come about from their work for the phase 1, phase 2, and then the preparation of the brownfield plan, which you have been given as, I think, part of your packet. So as far as the conditions, this is just one of several maps of the property. Each one of those dots is a drill location. I think there's around 40 of them. And there's charts of what materials they found. I can tell you across the site, you see the little dashed areas, that there's different types and levels of contamination in different regions and areas of the site. And so that's what we learned. In fact, we did some testing, and then they found some, and we said, well, let's look further over here, over there, try to really zero in on the best knowledge we could come up with for what we'll be dealing with to do the remediation. As far as the dollars, there's a lot of numbers in this presentation or in this brownfield plan. I'm going to melt it down into some executive summary style of numbers, but this is where it starts. This defines both the scope of all the different environmental activities that have to occur to get the site ready for construction of residential townhouses. So the total eligible, some of these words are going to be important, eligible cost is $2,984,069. There'll be a quiz. We're not asking for all of that, but that's what the total costs were based on really 2 years of research. Now, that rolls into this brownfield plan that Nick described, having good history, and we have good history with as well. It's a wonderful program that came out of the Michigan Act 381 of 1996 from the state of Michigan, and it provides what I call a method to temporarily divert increased tax revenue created from the property improvements that we in this case will fund, and to reimburse specific eligible authorized environmental remediation costs. Well, it's a mouthful. The City of Rochester does not provide any direct funding. None of this will come. If the taxes don't go up, you don't pay us a dime. Nothing will come out of your general fund. And that's true with every brownfield and every community in the state. And the audited funds are used solely by the increased tax revenue, are used to reimburse we don't even get, there's no markup or margin in the monies. That this is a direct, pure reimbursement of costs, backed up by actual receipts from work done by subcontractors that are doing the digging and putting the specialized systems in. The specific rules and process regarding how this whole thing works is defined in a document that is, I believe, also in your package, called the reimbursement agreement. It's, I don't know, about a 30, 40-page document. Our attorney and the city attorney worked together on in fact, I believe the template version that we started from came from your city attorney, and then we tailored it to the specifics of this site and this project. So it's been vetted over several months, and it defines how we get paid, when we get paid, and the details of that. This brownfield plan is limited by both time, 11 years, and maximum dollar amounts, $2.8 million to the developer. I'll see the specific numbers in a minute. If the time expires, it's 12 years, and the reimbursement mechanism ceases immediately. Even if we hadn't been fully reimbursed, we're at risk of getting a haircut, of getting shorted because the clock ran out. If we don't get all the money back, you can't extend the monies or the time. They're both limited to those maximum amounts. So, as is mentioned, all the risk for any problems we are inheriting. We're comfortable doing that because of the, frankly, 2-3 years we've got just into environmental research with this. So here's the financial highlights of the process. Again, some of this is repeat. Zero general fund money. Reimbursement of funds are only released after the new townhouses are complete, constructed, and producing revenue. That's going to be 3 years or so, by the time we even get the $1 heading back. So we're going to have to, any costs we spend, and we have to spend all the money up front to do this remediation, right? So we will have spent the $3 million, and then we'll wait and wait and wait. Well, time use of money, we'll have to spend interest on that money. So we are incented not to, spend any more than we have to on the remediation, because we'll have to pay interest on waiting to get reimbursed over time. And then the reimbursement isn't one big check. You're not sending it. The reimbursement is only what the audited tax increase really is for those properties. So it's a very rigorous, highly audited process. So I'm repeating here the maximum amount. The final reimbursement amount will be based on actual costs, just what it's actually. We've got to give you all the exact invoices and verified for the work that has been authorized and is eligible. Can't exceed the 11 years. Also, the total dollar amount cannot be increased. Let's say the money comes in earlier for the 11 years. Well, once you pay us the let's say we sell the units, they produce even more tax than what's projected. We don't get to stay on the clock for 11 years. When we get the $2.8 million, boom, the plan is done. And so you're protected and limited by both the dollar amount and the clock. One other detail for this property, the total cost of the remediation exceeds the value of the land. So the concept of turning it into a park or something else, difficult because there is the cost for the land and then the cost for the cleanup. The only way to sort of absorb that is through a program like this, which is again state managed. So here's where the numbers, and I've extracted these numbers from 3 or 4 different sheets, because otherwise you'd have to kind of figure out, what are the numbers here? What are the totals? So at the bottom there. So remember that number from the total of a few slides ago, 2,984,069. Well, that's literally the scope of work and the dollars necessary to do that scope of work. We are sort of on the hook to pay $185,000 of that already. So we're already coming out of the gate with a haircut of what we can, through the plan, what we can request. So now what that brings us down is this 2.8 that I've been referring to is $2.798734 million. That's the amount that goes to the remediation team. You may have noticed in your chart there of the TIF, the capture, the tax capture, a number $3,014,996. Well, hey, what are these guys? What's this shell game with all these different numbers? That's because, again, the brownfield plan, as envisioned by the state of Michigan, guess what? We have to pay you. We're going to pay you 143, not we, the project, the BRA is going to pay you $143,000 for your management and oversight of the plan. You're going to have staff that's going to have to say, well, how much of the tax do we keep? How much do we pass on to this entity, that entity? So that takes administrative costs. You get paid for it by the plan. Also, the state has a thing called a revolving fund for brownfield authorities all throughout the state. It's a big bucket of money. When they see a project worthwhile, maybe they have a way to provide some funding mechanism. That's probably what they use for their different grants and whatever. So they're into the plan by formula at $72,000. So you take the 2.8 million, the 143, the 72, and you get just a little over 3 million of tax capture over the 11 years. Now here's a little cartoon I put together that sums the whole thing up. Takes a little bit of description. So on the left there it says property tax revenue, 0 up to $500,000. This is annual revenue. And then on the bottom is time, from 0 years up through, in this case, 11. So the green area on the bottom, there's a little sliver there. It says like $30,000 out of the 500. That's what I'm calling the baseline existing tax revenue. That's what the property is currently producing in property tax revenue. You're going to still get that for the whole 11 years. But during that, the blue area is the increase in taxes from the project. And if you see it ramps up, it starts on year 0 at 0. Because we have to build these, it's not like an apartment building where it all gets assessed at one time with $1 amount. Each 5 to 10 condominiums will get assessed, get sold, get into the tax system, another 6 months, another 10 units, another et cetera, et cetera. So that ramp up period of constructing, selling them is about 3 or 4 years before we get to full tax revenue. Again, we're assuming that risk because we've got a hard stop at 11 years. If it takes longer to build, takes longer to sell, the end date doesn't change. That means the amount of tax that we can capture, that can be captured, is not going to be as great till later on, but the clock's going to run out. So another risk that we're assuming. So that blue area is over that 11-year period. That's the money that would be used to reimburse these $2.8 million, the total of $3 million, including the admin fees, et cetera. Then magic at the 11th year, we're gone. You've got 45 new families in your city, and they're all producing this tax. And it's like the switch will flick, and now all of a sudden, you're going to get $500,000 a year in tax revenue forevermore from that point forward. Some clarifications regarding the final numbers. Limits. The time is limited, the dollars are limited. These are all estimates. That has brought about maybe some confusing. Why don't you know exactly what everything's going to cost? Everything's underground with environmental issues, so you don't ever know until you get into it. What we're willing to do is establish the limits, but the reality is these numbers could be less. We're expecting them to be less. Well, what happens? So essentially what this says is if the actual final amounts and time durations, there would be an automatic improvement to the brownfield plan for you, the city. So if number one, if the actual remediation costs are less, then what would happen? The timeline would shorten. That big $500,000 a year would happen at year 9 or 10 or 8.5 or whatever instead of year 11. Item 2, what if the actual construction sales timeline happens shorter? The community learns about, there's only 45 of them, it's not like 300 homes. What if they all, I want the police, because we're going to price them. They'll be market value, but they're not going to be, as Nick said, they're not going to be $2 million fancy downtown condos. They're going to be, we think, right-sized and right priced. Maybe we get sales orders right away, and that ramp up 3 or 4 years actually becomes 2.5 years. We'd love that. What happens if that happens? There'll be more tax available. It'll shorten the time, because once we get our 2.8 million, we're getting kicked out, we're done. 3, the actual tax revenue increases could be greater than the projections. So we're going to sell the units for X money. There's a formula in the TIF tables that says that should yield so much taxes. Well, what if we are able to sell it for more? That means the taxes will be more. So there's 3 mechanisms here that all could, and we feel most likely will, produce improvements to the time and the budget for, at the end of the day, for you guys to get to that $500,000 sooner. That's the net. So that's very important. We can't commit to that. That's why these amounts are the way they are. But these are how they could and how we believe they will get improved automatically. So, summary of community outcomes. Economic, right now your average city is around, revenue is around $4,253 an acre. This, with the plan, it's going to go up to $45,000 an acre, a 1,226% increase. And then the land use from underutilized industrial surrounded by a residential neighborhood, now it's going to be beautiful new luxury townhomes, which is a highest and best use of the land. All right, last couple slides here. At our last meeting in December, there were a number of questions. Since then and now, there are a number. I kind of hate to narrate these answers, but one of the first questions is why did we not know this financial need earlier? What changed? Is this a bait and switch by one of these greedy developer guys, right? So it's been explained, but we'll reiterate. The initial environmental reports implied it wasn't that bad. That was because it was based on industrial use, industrial site, and the reports weren't as thorough as what needed to happen. So now that we know, also even the original reports for the proposed 4-story multifamily, that first floor was all garage. That's a whole different level of environmental need and cleanup underneath a garage, as opposed to if you have living areas right on the grade level. So there've been all these different moving parts that have caused this issue. In addition to that, bottom paragraph, as Nick mentioned, we were, we worked a year and a half, and up to the last minute, we really thought we were gonna be able to enjoy $1 million grant from Eagle to address some of this environmental issue. And at the end of all that work, they denied the grant. We were all very upset by that, but it's what happened. And we were making our business decisions on expecting this, that, or the other. So all of that fell apart. The costs went up, the needs went up, opportunity to get state money went away. And so that's what happened. That's why we're here in 2026 having to talk about this, which we really don't want to be. We'd rather be digging dirt. Is the current landowner providing any funds? The landowner has made significant concessions for the project, including a price reduction on the purchase of the property. But in addition, they've been paying the 30 grand property taxes, maintenance over the last 4 years. So they've made a significant, it adds up to about 50% of the original sales price. So they've made significant contributions to keep the success of the project moving forward. The question was raised, the reasonableness and accuracy of the cost estimates. We're 3 rounds into this with experts that do this for a living. We're comfortable when they went from 500 grand up to 3 million, and we saw the detail and why, and then we drilled the 40 holes instead of the 10 holes. We're comfortable taking on the risk that is currently defined in this plan. And we are incented that these numbers come in lower because of paying interest, on the money that we have to spend. And we have to send the checks out up front. So we have no reason to pad the money. It's not magic money that's just gonna come our way. It's only reimbursement money. So 0 risk to the city. Last few questions. Why is public help necessary? What's the benefit? This is again a mechanism that the state of Michigan put together as a workable framework to address these challenges. Some of these properties go back 100 years. The concept of, well, whoever did the contamination, they should pay to clean up their own property. Well, this is 5 or 6, landowners over 100 years. Most of them are, gone or passed on, or all the above. There's just no way to find those people and put a fingerprint on, well, you did this and you did that, so you paid it. So the state recognized that and said, look, why don't we set up this brownfield plan? We can peel off monies that otherwise won't exist. You're not peeling off any of your own money. This is money that the project generates itself. And so that's why how the public-private partnership works. The state put it together, and it is a great plan. It does work. It helps everybody. What happens if not approved? If the brownfield's not approved, just being frank, the project is not financially feasible or bankable. If you think about $3 million, the total investment is just under 30 million, 27 million, something like that. 3 million is 10% of that. There isn't a whole lot more in this project in profit or margin. So if the project had to try to absorb that $3 million, there's no way it could. So we would have to walk away from the project if that were to happen. So we're hoping that won't be the case. Experience with brownfields, significant experience. Len's a car guy, has a number of car dealerships. He's been dealing with underground tanks. We bought marina properties in Florida and had to clean up marinas. Talk about contaminated sites. Wow, marinas really do a job on that. So we have a significant history of taking contaminated sites, challenged sites, and turning them into viable projects. Final question, why 11 years, not 7? So the brownfield program administered by the state has flexibility on these plan durations. In fact, we were just approved for a 30-year brownfield down in Royal Oak. So there's this wide range. The 7-year that we learned about is just a target. I think it's a desirable time frame, but it's not required. So where did the 11-year come from? 11-year is a simple math exercise. $2.8 million divided by so much added tax revenue per year that the new project will be producing. And the TIF chart that's in your table, you know, the eye chart of all those numbers and the years, it comes out to 11. Now, of the 11, the first 3 is not full roar because it ramps up, right? And then if you look at the 11th year, instead of 300 and some odd grand in reimbursement per year, the last year's like 100 and some odd. So it's even as it sits right now, it's not a full 11 years. And if any of those positive things happen that we believe will, it's going to shrink on its own. But that's why it's 11. It's a simple math. The cost divided by what we hope to expect in tax revenue. And that is finally the end of the summary. I passed out hard copies of the same presentation so you could read along or have it for reference or what have you. I've got other handouts and all kinds of stuff, but I think that's enough. If you have questions.
I think we do probably have quite a few questions, so we will start with that. I do have just a couple myself, and then I'm going to pass it on to all the rest of council. So, because I know it is always presented that there's no money coming out of general fund, which we understand. But if all goes well, and you sell them, and you get to the 11 years, and you've been paying this back, it has not cost you any money. The contamination being removed, if all goes well, you have risk involved because you could get to the 11 years and not have sold everything.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, we just keep talking about, it is tax dollars that are not going into our funds, they are going back to you.
Diverted,
So,
yes,
right,
temporarily.
diverted. So sometimes I feel the words, the way it's presented is, you would not have paid anything for $200,000. There is a little bit in here that you're paying, but.
Well, yeah, technically, we're paying all $3 million.
But we're paying you back, basically. So I'm talking about, hopefully all goes well.
Yeah.
And you have a beautiful project.
Yes.
And thank you. First off, I should have said this in the first place. You have come back before I even was up here. So it's been many, many years, and you gave a lot of answers to questions we had. But I just feel like the way it's being presented is, at the end of it, you, as the developer, would not have spent any money on cleaning up the contaminant. Generally, there might be a little, like you said.
If we get reimbursed,
right.
That's a true statement to the
Okay.
fullest.
Which we all hope for. You hope you sell them all, we hope you sell them all.
more than
Because as
hoping
you
for.
stated, that is the most prime property in the city of Rochester. By the
It is a
Paint Creek
beautiful
Trail,
piece.
by the creek, by the parks. So obviously.
And by the way, we're at the mic for the last 4 years, but if this doesn't happen and we gotta leave, this same issue is gonna apply to anyone who owns that property.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And then my two other quick questions. So I know you had the price reduction. The other thing that I have to have clarification, I think, we, as a city, are negotiating with you, but you have not owned the property yet, which is confusing to me, that it seems like, I think there's some state regulations on, we need to be negotiating with the owner. So I need that clarified.
So we are under contract, And the sellers have been wonderful and patient to wait for all these steps to go through, the design changes, now the brownfield. Our contract is, if this gets approved tonight, we gotta buy the property, I think in 45 days, something like that. And then we're the owners. So the sellers would be glad to, affidavit, they certainly agree with everything we've been doing.
I feel like, and city attorney is here, like legally, I feel like we should have that done. That we should have had a document saying we're negotiating you because you do have a contract.
Yeah, I think.
And I could be wrong on this, I'm not an attorney.
I think one of the challenges is they're not gonna spend $30 million on the site. And so they give us the agency approval to do this work and to make this arrangement, but it's contingent upon the project, not the landowner previously.
Yeah, maybe we can, our consultants online, Jen Getley's our consultant. Oh, Jen, you're there. I didn't- Sorry, I'm looking around. There she is. You want to come up? If you mind, could she answer that one? She's with us, so.
I was gonna say, who are you and where are you from?
Hi, I'm Jen Galatly. I'm with AKT Peerless, and I've been providing consulting services for the BRA for maybe 5-6 years.
Okay, great, thank you. So do you think she can answer that question?
If you could repeat the question.
Yeah, so the mayor is asking, why isn't the developer the one asking for the money? I'm sorry, why isn't the property owner?
Why are we
And-
negotiating, with the developer who does not own the property?
Well, and it's typical that in a brownfield plan, there might be a transitionary period between old ownership and new ownership, so that the new owner already has this, redevelopment plan in place to increase the improvement on the site. So generally speaking, because the current property owner is gonna sell the property, they wouldn't be the ones incurring the cost to do these eligible activities, and so it wouldn't necessarily require their involvement.
So the state doesn't say it's got to be
Within the
done.
state,
It's not
it
required
says.
by the state. There is a baseline environmental assessment report that will need to be filed with the state that basically says the new owner is not the one that has created the contamination at the site, and they're not gonna exacerbate contamination. So that'll have to be done as well, but that's what's filed at the state. So that's how the state is notified that it's a contaminated site and it's gonna be redeveloped or managed.
So it is legal for us to make an agreement on a brownfield with the person that doesn't own the property yet?
Yes, yes.
Okay. That's all I have for you. But if stand by, someone else might have a question. I'm sorry. So my other question is, and this is just inquiring mind, if the current owner owned it for 69 years, is there an assumption that some of the contamination happened from them, or what they did in the building, there was no way there was contamination from them? Because I know there's oil tanks underground, and I assume that might have been previous to the 69 years, or?
Anything is possible. I would answer with anything is possible. They had an industrial use. It wasn't an oil refinery. It wasn't, some dramatic Dow chemical plant. It was a small manufacturing. Their participation was pretty modest, but there probably could have been some. They had a little paint booth, so maybe something. But this is exactly why I said, that's one example. What about the sugar company? What about the mill?
Right.
All those created this. In fact, part of the contamination in the southeast corner of the site is from the adjacent, they're notorious for contamination, the cleaners. Cleaning solvents and chemicals for dry cleaning,
Right.
clothes.
Yeah.
They spill, they get in the slab, they go. We're having to deal with on our property, not even related to us, it's a neighboring property. So,
And Mayor, if I may, so in some of the ones that I did, it was sole owner for the 79 years. That's easy.
Right.
State said, we know it's you, you're gonna clean it up. So they still participated, but because this is so long and there's so many users, it's very difficult to do.
Okay, that's a reasonable response. And then my final question is, since you'll be given about $1 million discount on the purchase, I don't know why we wouldn't consider then, why is the city and the reimbursement not getting a discount? Because you're buying it for less. And you can ponder that. You don't even have to answer that. I just am throwing that out there for consideration.
I'll provide an answer. Every real estate development project is dealing with dozens of numbers. And one will go up and one will go down. And so when we first got under contract, we were looking at a $70 million 4-story building. That's what the contract price of the land was. And in real estate development, the phrase is dollars per door. 10 grand a door, 30 grand a door, right? Well, we went from 108 doors down to 45 doors. So that was part of, hey, we can't pay this much for the land. Oh, and by the way, it costs this much more. So it's not just, and we, by the way, we didn't get $1 million discount. We got a price concession. It was not $1 million, but then they've been carrying the land for 4 years, paying taxes and maintenance and other things. So that all adds up to maybe something close to $1 million, but it's not like we got the million. And regardless, it can't be, it's already sort of baked into the cake of what is feasible for the project to go forward. At every step along our journey with y'all, we've had to reassess our pro formas. Does it still work? Does it still work? To go from 108 to 88 to now 45. Does it still work? Well, you do this, you do that. Oh, if we get this, oh, the Eagle's gonna do that. Nope, oh, they're out. It's always moving. And by the way, it's really unfriendly. As much as real estate developers have wonderful reputations, it's really difficult the last 2-3 years with interest rates, with tariffs, the cost of materials. Lumber used to come from Canada, now we've got to get it in the southern United States, but it's more money. The cost per square foot to build has gone up, so we have all these forces acting on the project. So the concept of just, hey, we got $1 million discount on the land, oh, that'll pay for all these other things. We didn't get the million, no, it won't pay for all these other things. I don't know if that's a long-winded answer.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to pass it on to what council questions are there. Who's first? Councilmember King.
Thanks. I have a few questions. I'll just kind of go through order, if you don't mind. Sure. So I was reading through some of the documents that were provided. I think it was in one of the PM reports, there is a list of the eligible activities.
Yep.
And a lot of that makes sense. You've got the vapor barrier, there's asbestos remediation, things like that. But I did see in here, there's just general building demolition. I think regardless of environmental or non-environmental issues, there would be building demolition. So I'm just curious why that would be included in the brownfield request.
Yeah, it is.
It's a total of 300,000, I think.
Yep.
150 for local.
Chart that you're looking at. It's blue.
Page 89?
You're looking at this, right?
Yes. Thank you.
So, yes, there'd be a certain amount of demolition needed, but the building also has its own contamination that's kind of melted, I think, into that number.
Yeah, right.
So that's, I guess, the best way. And it is, under state law, it's an eligible activity. So
Okay.
I guess that's the best way I can phrase that.
And then, so one of my concerns, and this is, there's two pieces to it, but we have some developments we did in the city of Rochester back in the late 90s, early 2000s, large subdivisions that maintain their own stormwater, and it has been an issue. As those systems were not maintained, the homeowners associations were deeded the rights to those stormwater systems. They've not been maintained. It's now, they're looking for the city to kind of, fix that. I don't want to I don't want to have another project that creates another issue like that. There's also the vapor barrier. And I've had this with a client where, it wasn't maintained for 10 years. They didn't even know about it when they bought the building. So how do you ensure, because you're going to be selling these, right? And there's going to be an HOA, I guess, what can you do to ensure that these don't become risks that the city has to take on in 20, 30 years if the HOA neglects, to
Right,
maintain
so
those things?
First thing you pointed out is correct. There's going to be a condominium association that with bylaws, and it'll govern the responsibilities of how that entity manages the property, the common areas, which include the areas you're talking about. In fact, the vapor systems will be part of the common elements, not necessarily owned by the homeowners. As far as how, once we're gone, we've sold, and you've got 45 new homeowners, how can we make sure that they do their job? I think that the main couple of ways we do that would be the scope and quality of what's installed up front. So in our case, the stormwater system, it's all underground. It's all of materials that are designed to last decades, if not longer. And it's kind of almost zero maintenance. There aren't pumps or, features of that system. I don't know what system you had experience with in a different HOA, but this one is gravity, right? The water comes in, it sits in the pipes, and then it flows out slowly. So it's kind of zero. There's very little to corrode or break over time. And then the vapor system is also, it's underneath the slab. There's just a simple a pipe that goes up through the roof with a fan, and that whole system will have monitors, and there'll be a annual maintenance for a company like a PM Environmental, who will be monitoring that the system is functioning properly, and there will be when we hand the project over, there will be an annual budget for the homeowners association, and it'll include a line item for those repairs and maintenance items.
If I may help, so when they come in for engineering review, Asil Putros works for us, there will be in the bylaws they have to create and the condominium documents, we will insist that there's perpetual maintenance on the vapor barrier fans, the whole system, and the underground storm. There will be no unclarity in that. It will be theirs forever, and the city will have the right to go in and charge that authority. So we control that in the engineering review. We do it all the time. That's nothing new for this project. So that's a great question.
I believe, isn't that also like the due care plan with the state environmental agency? Isn't that also a requirement for the vapor mitigation system that they have the annual maintenance? Okay, I just, you get new people in charge of the HOA or the condominium association, and you lose some of that.
That might have been decades ago, though, that HOA and their bylaws. Things are getting more sophisticated, and like Nick said, we'll enjoy the scrutiny of best practices.
Okay. And then, sorry, I have a few others too. So the costs back in that spreadsheet, the costs there, are these going to be performed by third-party companies? Or is it, I don't know if you also do your own development, and how would you kind of show invoices or proof of that to the authority?
Yeah, I think about all of this work will be at a subcontractor, specialist subcontractor, site work contractors, You know, the asbestos contractors are all specialized. So we don't self-perform work like this.
Okay.
But they submit to us, goes to Jen.
Yeah,
Jen's
PKT.
team says this is eligible. This is a reasonable unit price. If not, red flag. PM, their engineer would have to argue that. Goes to the state, Eagle says, not in our parameters. So there's like triple oversight on that. Good question.
Can I jump in for one quick second on that? And it's also, if you look at the, it's paid. It's not just a cost.
Right.
They actually have to pay it out of pocket to show they actually spent the money. So they
Reimbursed.
can't just show the cost, hey, this is what it cost me. They have to show this has been actually physically paid. They have to show verification of payment too. And that's
Yeah.
in
Proof of
paragraph
payment.
6 of the agreement.
They can't pad it at all because it
That's
would
right,
get kicked
yes.
back right from the
Correct.
payment.
There's no, we can't mark it up. We can't say, hey, 10% developer markup. No, it's just the literally to the penny invoice for the work done.
Okay.
Can I tag on to that real quick, sir? So is it, you submit the receipt, like you said, just to show that it was done, but is there anything to show that, because we're paying for remediation, that the outcomes that we wanted, we got, or we're just reimbursing if the services were done?
It's got to be the outcome, so that's.
The outcomes too.
It's pretty, in this case, it's pretty easy, it's excavation of materials, so they actually calculate how many yards by weight on the truck, goes to scales, so absolutely, so you see that that's, they aren't going to pay for class 2 landfill if they don't have to. If they run into an area that they thought was dirty, you send that out, less cost, right? You only pay for the bad dirt or the bad asbestos things, right? So, yeah.
Correct.
But good question.
As audited by your team.
We'll make sure that we're not paying bad dirt costs for good dirt, absolutely.
So that takes me to the reimbursement agreement. And is that a document that we drafted, our city attorney? Okay, so on the reimbursement agreement, a couple of questions. I think you answered, so it referred to the authority to review and approve expenses. That is our consultant, AKT Peerless, that does that? Okay, and then section item 5E, it spoke to if the percent of the project is reduced, so like, let's say they build 8 of the 9 buildings, 40 or 38 or, 40 townhomes instead of the 45 that are supposed to be done, that same percent of completion applies to the amount of the 2.79 that's available.
Absolutely, and that was actually a huge bone of contention, because they were like, no, that, it should just be lump sum, and we're like, no, we're not gonna get the residents. If you build 8 less units, we get 16, 20 less people. So they didn't like that in the negotiation. The Brownfield Authority put their foot down and said, we think proportion's fair. So we negotiated that hard back and forth. So that, what's in the document, that was driven by the Brownfield Authority.
Okay. And then my last question, as, I just want to understand, so as you did kind of your work, I know this is based on what the estimated tax revenue is, but I think that would translate to sales price. I'm just curious, what is the estimated sales price for these units that's being used as the basis behind the math?
I think, it's a range, because there's some smaller units and some larger units. Everything under $1 million certainly, but $500,000 to $800,000 is what we think we're going to be targeting,
500 to
which is
800.
market rate for new product in Rochester.
And Greg Schneider's been trying to sell his units up at Ferndale for like 1.2 to 5 and sold 2. So they've got some good history here already with our condominiums lately that have been sold. So we didn't want to hear 900 to $1 million because Suave didn't build his up by the Overlook because they didn't think they could sell $72 million units. So these guys have done this a long time. Like, don't think everything's going to be, we don't want it to be $1 million, number one.
No.
We like the taxes, but that's not for normal families, so.
Ferndale, you're talking the brownstones on Main? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember King. Anyone else? Councilmember Closet?
Yeah, so, I want to start by saying, I've read the materials thoroughly. I've listened to the presentation. And my concern isn't about the redevelopment or the cleanup. I think we all want that. We all want success, right, for that property. I live on Ludlow, right? So I'm thoroughly interested in what happens, and I want it to be successful. I will say, though, that again, this is my third council meeting, right? So I still don't feel confident and comfortable that in the documented information that we've received. Last meeting was the first time this came to us. It was a 2-page memo, right? We have the redevelopment plan that's on the record, and we have the reimbursement agreement draft. That's all we've received. So like your presentation you went through tonight, first time I'm seeing it. It's also a little unfortunate from my perspective. Nick went through a very thorough process, and I trust that the brownfield is doing that. Again, I'm fairly new to this, my first time doing a brownfield. So but I haven't seen any of that documentation. I'll also say that up until a few hours ago, there's been emails going around in city council with us asking tons of questions. I know I've sent 3 or 4 emails with multiple questions, and my city council peers don't have that information, right? I don't have the information that Deb asked for. I don't have the information if Christian asked for something. So I don't even know if we all have the same information that we're working off of for this. And so I'm having a hard time with this one, mostly because, like I said, to me, this is public financing, right? We are foregoing revenue that the city could be getting and putting into city services to help reimburse you to clean up the site, right? So to me, there has to be a lot of open transparency when you're asking for public dollars. And again, I see a lot of narrative and a lot of high-level explanations, but things like Deb said, do we even have legal standing to be negotiating with you on this? I don't have that information. I can go through my list of stuff and I'm happy to, but I just want to put that out there I think there's just a lot going on here, and it's a lot of money. 2.8 is really what we're talking about. And we have 2 active brownfields right now where we're not collecting tax revenue. We have projects like Bob that just came up here about a nonprofit and city. We might not collect tax revenue. There's a bigger picture here too that I'm concerned about, because we're very fiscally conservative and we've been really great about that and haven't increased taxes to our residents. But at some point, we got to keep bringing in tax revenue. And so I'm just trying to provide some justification for where I'm coming from with all the questions and concerns.
I think the one, if I
yeah,
the one big net that applies to all this statewide is this money that will be used to reimburse us doesn't exist now, and it won't exist until we invest $30 million to get all of the 45 units constructed.
Yeah.
So the public side of it is you're just temporarily diverting some of that increased tax, that incremental tax, for a limited, defined amount of time to cover actual costs that have receipts and invoices. But it can seem like you're giving us the money. It's true that the money actually will go to the BRA, and then they'll send it to the state, to your administrative, to whatever, and then it'll eventually come to you. But it's not the same decision like a general fund decision.
So, if I may, I want to clarify, just I don't think the councilwoman, you didn't say council was deliberating behind the scenes. I want to, anybody, I know.
We've all sent separate.
No, I just want to say that for the record.
Correct.
Exactly.
Everybody's asked questions, which we asked you to. So, if you didn't ask the question, you didn't get an answer, because we're trying to do this as straight as we can for complying with the Federal Open Meetings Act. Number one, I knew what you meant, but I just wanted to say that for the record for everybody. Again, you all got this, it's a lot of documentation. That group right over there, the Brownfield Authority, you appointed them to go through this. You do not look at the scrutiny of the DPW, how many pounds of salt they use per day. We made a whole, by state statute, group to do this work. There's no way you can become a brownfield expert on this. It's impossible. I know that's not what you're saying. I just want to make sure that everybody got this Wednesday, so you had Thursday morning, so many days to look it over. Again, no way could you become a brownfield expert.
179 pages.
Yeah, so, but that's what the experts are there, Jen's gonna come, and we have a consultant, so this is not us, let's make a deal, we're using the highest level potential, transparency, all this good stuff, so I just want you to know
Yeah,
that.
and just a couple of things on that too. I understand what you're saying, but a couple other points is like the planning commission I can watch on TV. I have no idea what they talked about at Brownfield. I have no idea what they negotiated. I don't know where we started, where we landed, why. So trust but verify when you're talking about $2.8 million of taxpayer money. That's where I'm coming from. I just trying to kind of explain my perspective. And then I do have a ton of questions, though, about the actual numbers, and you might be able to answer those. And the other thing, too, I did ask for what procedures, what guardrails, what criteria the Brownfield uses, what our application looked like. Again, I don't know what the rubric is. I don't know what we're going off of. And I have nothing. I found some 2017 documents online, and I asked if that's what we use, and I think we reference those, but I just think that's a gap in our policy, not necessarily for this, right? That doesn't mean we vote no, but we should come back to that and, get some guardrails, but that's also where my concern comes from, right, is I just don't have confidence in what we're looking at because I don't know, and what the criteria is, yeah.
I just came up here because a couple of things that you mentioned are really key. One is, the 2.8 million, there's actually county taxes involved with this as well. So it's not just purely local city taxes or increment in city taxes that are going to be used. It would also be county. So that is the benefit of Brownfield as well, is that it's not just purely city or local. It also extends to the county. They receive notice of this as well. So they also by law have to be notified that the increases in their taxes would be used potentially if it gets passed at the local level to reimburse these eligible activities. So I hope that also helps bring that into context. Excuse me. And then the other part is I have mentioned, we've also talked, I've attended the BRA meetings regarding this plan, and we've talked about different aspects of Act 381 and what that affords local municipalities, what they're able to do with that. Yeah. And we've offered, at some point, maybe doing a study session with both the BRA and the city council, because BRA members also transition out of their roles as well. So that can also provide further information that gives you more confidence in how this process works. So
yeah, I will. Yeah, that's a great idea.
We definitely need to do that.
That's all I wanted to say, and then I'm also available for more questions, hopefully. But
one other, the 2017 document.
Yeah.
Here it is for this project. It was submitted in May, so it's in your record somewhere.
We didn't get a copy of that, and so just context, right? That's so going to then getting to specifics. I've been doing some back of the envelope math because I don't feel again like I've got a budget or full financial transparency on this. I definitely see your list of eligible costs, the 2.9. They look right to me. They look like eligible costs, but I don't see the justification for why public tax dollars are funding that, and I don't see the justification for why we're funding the entire 2.9. So we've heard, I guess one thing that I would look for is, I'm assuming there was an appraisal done on the property for what it's valued at, as if it was clean, because I guess, again, going back to my experience, if you buy something, you get an appraisal, it tells you the value, you do a home inspection, you find out it's wrong, you did some environmental tests, found out, you go back, you negotiate, right? Also, when we were getting public financing, we had to get an appraisal done on what the property would be after the development. So I'm assuming somewhere someone's collected an appraisal on the current value of the property and then an appraisal on what it will be after the development. To see the difference?
The way, when you do a zoning change, highest and best use design, that the traditional appraisal process doesn't occur typically till after the work is done. The cleanup occurs or the units are built. Some appraisals can do projections, but typically it's done based on the market. And the market is what a, willing buyer is willing to pay a willing seller. And in the case of this project, the property was sold at X, and we said, okay, we're gonna put $70 million on your property and make this beautiful multifamily building, and so you're ready to go. Then that all changed, and so everything just became market-based negotiations at a private level. There's not a way for a traditional appraiser to get involved at this stage of the process.
Right, and if I may, so the county has formulas, so they go and say it's 2,500 square feet, it's wood construction, it's got this, it's got that. Mike Fury pumps it into a chart, says this is what we think. That's not an appraisal, because appraisal's actuality. So it's their best guess. Then that goes to our consultant, they look and say, that seems kind of low, seems kind of high, but the county, because they're foregoing their taxes, they could have said no. Then the developer has the right to come back to us and say, well, will you eat the whole thing? In this case, the county was convinced enough that, because it's housing, believe it or not, because parks is part of the county, they're getting part of the trail back, they felt this was a good investment, so they worked with us to get the numbers verified, what it is per square foot to build. We've seen the market come in at $800 a square foot. Recently, in two of the projects we bid out, they should be $400 a square foot. The county doesn't care about that. They have a formula. Randy has a formula when he calculates building costs, so that it's not somebody saying, oh, I think it's worth this much. They have to go through this rigorous, the county does, not us. So we don't have our own inside assessors, which in this case kind of helps our transparency. It's not us. It's the county setting those numbers and making sure they're comfortable with them, if that helps.
So I think that answers the part about, is this right, we're saying it's like, I think 15,000 or 13,000, I forget what the number was, for how much the property will be valued at to get to that, how you're gonna, the TIF amount, right? It would change. My point being, there's something that's been verified on the back end that what you're saying is worth after the development is there, so that we can collect on that tax revenue. That's.
One other thing I was going to help clarify. So you can't, in this case, you can't say, oh, how much is it worth green or contaminated? It's contaminated. There is no green option. So you could say, what would this piece of property next door, that'd be about as close as you could get. What's the DPW work? It's contaminated. So you can't, we can't, there's no apples to apples here. It's very frustrating. Yeah, there's no comps. Thank you. That's a good way to put it. So, because that's a fair question. It's like, what's the difference? It's dirty. It's been dirty for 100 years.
Well, I guess that's, what's challenging is, to me, the brownfield is an incentive, right? We're holding out a carrot here, like, we'll help you with this if you're doing, right, the work for the city, right? Taxpayer dollars, taxpayer benefit. But what you're saying is, we, in my opinion, can't, it's hard for us to justify that there's a financial gap there, right, to help with the incremental cost. So like, a brownfield should be covering, in my opinion, the incremental cost to make this project happen that was like unforeseen costs. So we're saying it was 2.9 million, but there's nowhere to, we don't have that. Here's what it cost, or here's what we thought, or here's what we expected when we went into this, when we got the special project, because you also got your apartments, but then you came back, and because we denied those, the city, the planning commission, and came back and got the 45-unit townhomes approved. And that did have to go through a special project. So it was.
No, it didn't. It was, it was by right. It was by right.
So the rezoning?
Yeah.
The zoning got changed.
Yeah.
And then to RM1, so they didn't have it. There's no special project designation on this one.
zoning was changed.
Because we changed the zoning.
Got it, but it did go through that process.
Site plan, right?
Rezone and site plan.
And at that time, though, that's when we said, right, that basically we expected to cover the costs of the contamination. And so what I'm trying to figure out is what changed, right? So was the estimated cost 1 million and it's gone to 2.9, so why are we covering all 2.9? Why aren't we just covering the 1.9? Then you got a discount on the property from the owner, but we don't know what that is. So to me, why are we double dipping? The market value is working, right? They've given you a discount, so that should cover some of that 2.9. You were also anticipating spending about $500,000, I think is what we've heard on cleanup. 480 is what Nick said when he did his presentation. You have 185 in there. Like, what is the 185, in my opinion, is pretty low compared to what you were paying. So again, I can't figure out why we're paying for the 2.9 and then, or the 2.8. Again, if you look at, like to Sarah's point, if you look at that, a lot of those things would have happened if the ground wasn't contaminated, right? You would have demolitioned the building, the asbestos would have been there. So when you went to go purchase the building, my assumption is you already knew there was asbestos, you would have known that there's gotta be some costs that you already knew were coming in. So again, why is that part of the 2.9? Why isn't that part of your normal development costs? So I guess I don't have the economics, I don't have the numbers for why we got to the 2.9.
I think that the simplest way to take all those balls in the air.
Yeah.
Is that 4 years in, multiple pro formas, different scopes, different discoveries, different rejections by Eagle of money that we thought we'd come in, different costs for going from 10 holes to 40 holes in the ground, to saying, well, we got some over here and some over there. All of that just kind of goes into one big ball. In our world, it's called a pro forma. And the numbers, all the numbers that are in this one magic sheet, the $2.9 million sheet, are what are called eligible costs. Now, whether some of these costs would be done with or without a BRA, you know, some of that stuff I guess could be argued, but we go off of the plan. The plan's vetted by multiple entities, and so we put that expectation into our pro forma to say, if this happens, can we still afford to go forward with the project? So if you feel the need to carve a $500,000 or $1 million out because you're thinking it's coming from elsewhere, or could have, that would probably be, we couldn't absorb that. The project has shrunken from 70 million to 27, and so there isn't enough margin to absorb really anymore.
And if I could say, if I just add on that, when we, on December 24th, 2024, hey guys, you just got $1 million. The brownfield plan was being redrawn, $1 million less. They were like, great, we don't want you. They didn't have to do that. They could have still asked for the whole thing and kept that $1 million because it was a grant. State didn't put any rules to it, but they right away said, we're redoing all our numbers, we're coming in $1 million less. Redid the whole plan again, and then a year later, they pulled the plug on us. So they were willing to reduce that cost because it was dollar per dollar, just to be fair to them. And the Brownfield Authority was like, we're not going to give you that whole thing, take $1 million off it, boom, that was the first time they did that. So.
And I had asked for the pro forma to see exactly what you're talking about, because again, I'm doing back of the envelope math. You're giving me a lot of numbers and explanations, narratives, but there's no documentation for any of this that I've seen. I don't know where to go from there. I've still got more questions.
I hear your frustration. I hear you're new and you're wanting to be fiduciary for the city. I applaud that. I'm on my own planning commission back home. The key component of this whole plan, by the way, this is a state of Michigan plan. By the way, this would apply if the city wants to buy the land and make it a part. This would apply to anybody going forward. We'll deal with these issues. We're like the first ones that have stuck around long enough to try to make it work. The biggest issue is there's no risk by the city. It funds itself. The project creates, the $30 million investment creates the added tax that can get temporarily diverted to reimburse for these costs. And while you could construe that that's public money, I mean, I guess it literally is, people paying property taxes, that's public money, but it's not like you don't have to go to the voters and say, here, let's do a bond proposal to pay for this developer's $3 million. That's not what's happening here. It's a great program that the state of Michigan administers statewide. Nick has experience, we have experience, it works. I guess that's the peace of mind aspect that I would offer.
The crux of it is you could win your argument all the time. It is a partnership between private and public entity that independent group evaluates and says, if they would have said we're putting in 45, $70,000 townhomes with no landscaping, they would have said no. So that Brownfield Authority, under the state statute, along with your economic development team, we decide, do we really need that? If they would have come in and said, we're doing, here, I can give you an example. Senior housing, we would have told them, no, thank you. Don't need any more, don't want any more, because Rochester Hills built so many that they sucked up all that demand for us. So the Brownfield Authority actually looks at what are we getting, does it fit our master plan? Is it something families could move into? It's 45 more people walking downtown because it's walkable, things like that. So that's a super fair question, and we evaluate the economic impact on the city, what we will get in the long run, not just taxes, it's the people that live here, it's that they're going to spend their money daily here versus an assisted living facility that the folks are unfortunately, stuck in there. So that's the kind of stuff the Brownfield Authority does. When we first meet them, the first time I meet a developer, it's like, what is your plan? What niche are you filling in our community that we need? You can see on Ferndale, we don't need $1 million condos, obviously, because they're not selling, so fair question, and we try to do all that behind the scenes, and I know it's frustrating when you don't see all that, but that's what you guys are paying us to do out of the gate, so.
Yeah, I'll pause and let other people ask questions because I have other ones. But I guess just to kind of wrap this point up is, you just said that you listed all the eligible costs. Well, that's what I'm trying to prevent, right? It's like we're just taking advantage of the tools that we have instead of how do we be as conservative as possible, again, so that you're winning, but we're winning. It just seems like here's everything that fits into that eligibility category, 2.8 if you round it. And so that's what we're going after. And so that's where I'm coming from with some of those too. But I'll let people talk.
Councilmember Trent.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you, and I appreciate all this work that you have done. This is really helpful moving this discussion along, and I'm trying to get to yes. I really do. I think this is going to be a successful project. Every time I look at this, I'm like, wow, that is so much better looking than what is there. I get that. Just want to set the baseline here and just before I launch into, and why did you do this? Why aren't you do, or whatever. But my questions are, the Paint Creek easement, will that be cleaned up?
Yes, it's going to be restored, is the phrase.
That's not dirty, luckily.
Yeah, it's
not dirty.
But it's going to be restored physically.
Okay, which gets me to, when I'm looking at the borings, obviously, it's apparent, when I look at, thank you for this aerial view of what is there.
Yeah.
And thank you for your drawing of where these borings are. A lot of them are in the building area. They look like a lot of them, like you had to.
A number of them are, yeah.
Yeah, and so that gets me to the question, so, and I'm not saying this is a deal breaker, just these are observations. 60 years of this plant being here, 69, and we're still literally, I just don't want to be saying that we're guessing that there could have been some contamination. You're doing the borings, I get it, they must have built on some contamination, but can we really say there was none? We can't, which will get me on to my next point.
Wait, can I answer that? Because we went through this when, some of you were here, Stuart, I think you're going to remember this. Russians came to us first, want to buy it for DPW building, and we said, hey, we're going to go to a bond to build one. So Shannon Filarecki and all of our team went in and spent a day in that building, and we were convinced that because of the way the walls were built and the floor was solid, the contamination would be under the building, groundwater that came from the mill, the sugar mill, that was off-site that came through. The borings, remember, aren't at the surface, they're down. So they're picking up soil borings, not floor soiling. So that we were confident that because it was an industrial use to industrial, we could have left it as a sealed site and we would not have had to clean that up. So if this stayed a factory, you don't clean it up, which means you don't clean it up next to the river. So this is stuff moving through the site, not just so, if that helps.
Okay, that helps.
Okay.
So then it gets me to my next observation, that the current landowner is he providing any funds? Well, this is a very gray area for me, because it says the current landowner has made significant concessions. Well, originally, you came in and we all agreed with you that there was only $480,000 cleanup, and then you find out a few years later that it's 2.9 million, and I just am not convinced of the significant concessions when you find out that land that's not really that polluted is significantly polluted. And the more work that you have to do, and all this work, I know I own a small business, I know what you're doing behind the scenes enough to put all this together. So I would put you into significant work but I would not say that the landowner is. I am not convinced of that. I don't know what 50% of what is, and just because you pay your taxes doesn't count as a concession, because I guess then that's what I do every year, twice a year. That's my statement about that. So what is the concession that he's making on 50% of the original price, and what was the original price?
It's his money, so.
I understand.
No, I'm saying.
You telling me I'm not supposed to be asking these questions? Okay, thank you. I just want to. Okay.
Len Nadolski, Principal of Champion Development. Your question refers to the purchase price. Originally, we put it under contract for $2,500,000.
Okay.
That's to put 108 apartments on the property. And the environmental cleanup did not require us to clean it to the extent we have to now, because there'd be parking underneath it. The Rushes did a concession of $500,000, agreed to hold the property until we could get this approval. The holding cost alone for the value of the property comes out to about $800,000. So if you take the $500,000 concession, and there's $800,000 cost dollars value of money, and the taxes that they paid, comes to about $780,000. So if you were to quantify them sitting on that asset for the period of time of those 4 years, plus the $500,000 price concession, that's about the dollars that we come to, that we put in. And the property taxes.
I would beg to say, I don't think if this was presented at the beginning, at the get-go of all the work you're doing for the next person, if they came in to purchase this, I would beg to differ. I would say they would need to lower the cost more.
Well,
I'm not doing your negotiations, but I'm just saying, when you're saying that they're doing significant concessions, I think that the city is doing significant concessions. I think you as a developer saying you're going to put in $300,000, and I don't know if you probably can't even count any of this work. I don't know how you do that, but I'm just saying I'm failing to see, and I know, and then if they did, no, I'll drop that. No, I'm not going to add on to that. Thank you.
so if you get into the financial part of it, as to who should pay what and how and do the math equation, I can help you with that. If we don't have the funds granted, the bank won't even do the project. There's not enough margin in it to be able to succeed and do it. It economically does not.
Well, I just want to make,
Right, and as far as the rush is concerned, to hold the property under contract that long, the time value of money involved, that's a huge concession when you take those dollars and put it elsewhere. In addition, that contamination was there prior to them. You have a transmission shop on the back corner that was. We've got we've got the city facility, a transfer station. You've got a dry cleaners. And this is all under the ground, about 6 to 7 feet underground. So you'd have to go to everybody and say, okay, you got to pay a little, you got to pay a little, you got to pay a little. And that's the whole idea of the brownfield plan, is to be able to say, look, here's a way to capture this. Get this forward, get rid of an old dilapidated building, and build a beautiful project.
I'm not asking to go back 100 years and do the math of figuring that out, just so you know. I hope you understand my point of view of what I'm questioning from a small business owner, worked with a lot of different negotiations. I just look about who's putting what in.
So when we did this with the rushes, We explained that. They said, well, we don't feel as liable. We're gonna go talk to these neighbors and they should pony too. I mean, we're in the middle of this as a piece. So we negotiated hard to try to do that. We worked with the Brownfield Authority, the BRA, and for the amount of property that is there, the value that it is, it's very fair. Very fair, where they did in the concession that they made. But we're in the business every day and we do this, so we
So
understand that.
basically, you were paying 2 million for it?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, that's what I wanted to know.
Plus, they held it for 4 years.
I understand, but they've been having a hard time selling this property.
And they will continue to until
Yes.
this is addressed with what's taking place
Right.
on it. And we just happened to hang on to it 4 years ago.
You have hung on to
We would have done
it.
multiple other projects.
Yes, you could have, and
We're in
I
so
am not.
deep, we gotta finish it.
I'm not disputing any of that. So I talked about where the borings are. Underground tanks are, what is going to happen? When there are underground tanks with some oily substance in it? You're just going to take that out?
They will be removed.
Okay.
That's part of the remediation budget.
Not pumped.
Okay.
Some places you can pump them full of concrete. These are being removed.
Okay, they're totally being removed.
The footings are gonna go there.
Let me see. So 1, 2, we did that, 3 entities, 10 years. Oh, so, okay, so we got 10 plus 1 year, so I guess that's a little bit of a concession, but I wouldn't say huge. I just want to acknowledge the concessions of the city. And the last thing I like to say is I really like that you're using a detention stormwater tank. That's good, in my opinion, good GSI practices. So, and I really like the fact that you're going to add into the contract, so when our city has to go back to bylaws of an HOA, that we're going to go, there it is, it's written right there, you have to take care of this tank, and how? I mean, some more information on what does this mean, taking care of that tank? And I like that, because we had a discussion at Pink Creek Trailways Commission with Mo Cherie about help the cities 20, 30 years down the line, when an HOA goes, well, what? Where's that? Where does that say that we had to do it and take care of that?
We're very experienced at that.
Good.
And what we would do is put an actual service agreement and contract
Yeah.
that obligates the HOA to pay the service company to come and do that on a regular basis, like you get your furnace filters changed if you're in a contract, a maintenance contract.
Good.
We do that heavy in the beginning, so all the neighbors understand what needs to be done and maintained on a consistent basis.
We'll be funding that the first 3.5 years as we sell, until
the
HOA
rollover
management is in place.
It's in place, and it's got the filtering and everything. I mean, I really like it much better than the detention and retention ponds. I mean, this is what everyone should do.
Our intention is to make sure it's done right, and
Okay.
it stays forever, and it's properly done. So there's legs on a lot of the stuff that we do and the way we write it.
Right design, right materials, right system, best
And-
practices.
and I do know-
And then legal language
To back it up.
That is great. So, all right, yeah. That's it, thank you.
Any council member, other questions? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I have a couple questions, and I think I was here for 5 years, so.
The whole time?
I've seen it all.
You've been here for 20.
Yeah, well, this project hasn't been here
Okay,
20
okay.
years, so it's only it seems. I have a question for our consultant. And I will say, this is the first time all of us up here, I think, have met our consultant, so maybe it'd been nice to have met her before. What happens if it costs a bunch more money to dig this up? So they wildly miscalculated the first time. And you'd said the last meeting, because you didn't want to spend the money to do more. Right.
It's the one paragraph you didn't read out loud where it says, we cannot ask for any more
Yeah.
line item. So, good question. You didn't say.
Well, but, so my question is, you get in there and it's a lot more than you pull out of the project then?
I'm sorry, say what?
So if they get in there and it's a lot more, do you then pull out of the project? do they pull out of the project? So maybe the question.
That would be their decision.
Right.
Obviously, they wouldn't be eligible to be reimbursed for anything that they had spent up until that point. So the way that this works is the development has to be complete. It has to generate that new taxable value. It has to generate that increase in tax revenue. And if it doesn't, because they walk away from it, they can't get anything from it. So everything that they had put into the site up until that point that may have been eligible, they wouldn't be able to receive any reimbursement.
Because, I mean, to me, who says it's not going to cost a lot more? I mean, we don't know, right?
Yeah, we don't know. I would think that based on their reputation and how long they've stuck around, that they're looking to see it through. If costs do go up higher, I can't speak for them, but they would just have to absorb those costs. They wouldn't be entitled to anything further.
It's speculative. We're comfortable with the 100, 200 grand in testing, the 40 holes. The expertise of PM Environmental and the two experts are there. One guy's kind of older than me. He's looked at dirt forever.
Right. No, I get that.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, all due respect, you thought that the first time, and it wasn't correct. And then the other comment I had was, and I think with Councilmember Clauser, the brownfield, and I think as Jay talked about how he negotiated with them and he browbeat you guys and you went back and forth and you might not like him and stuff like that. See, Jay, I actually listened to you. And not that I don't trust what you guys did, but I don't have any knowledge of what that did. I don't know that you did a great job and did them, or you didn't do great. I mean, there's no documentation for us up here to see that. So it does make it hard to say, well, this is the number, this is good because you guys negotiated this. Well, did you get them down from something to something, or could you got another? I mean, I don't know, but I'm just supposed to go with this.
Right.
That makes it harder.
Yeah, I understand. So you've been through 2 other brownfields, and that question's never come up. You've trusted the Brownfield Authority to make those numbers transparent. It's in the documentation. So this one's no different than Rewald. This one was just as tough, basically, as we've done 3, right? With
It's a lot larger, though, isn't it?
not Mosheri, but
Randazzo.
Randazzo, which hasn't started yet. That's right. We don't count that until they haven't asked for anything yet. But it was the exact same process that you have to trust the consultants, our team, that we did all that work. That's all I can answer.
Well, it's not that I don't trust. I just,
Right.
would you say trust and verify? I mean, I just would like to have seen how that was.
Yeah, I could speak to that a little bit. Part of what we do, I mean, we're a similar company to PM Environmental, who's the firm that wrote the brownfield plan. So we, as consultants to the city, and specifically for Brownfield Redevelopment Authority Consulting Services, reviewed the plan, went through it meticulously. We went through how it complies with Act 381. We looked at the environmental contamination and the remediation and mitigation eligible activities that they proposed, and we found it was reasonable. And then we provided a review memo to the BRA board for their consideration to approve it. So part of the process, obviously, is that the BRA is kind of the vetting source to have this go through the vetting source, then to present and say, okay, we find that this is in accordance with our community development needs. It's in accordance with Act 381. We have consultants that have verified that, and then it's then presented to the city council in trust, hopefully, that the BRA has done its job.
Right, maybe it'd have been nice to get that.
Yeah,
memo you sent.
again, that's something probably that we can discuss aside, just for the processes of how that would work, between the BRA and the city council.
Thank you.
Don't disagree.
Thank you.
Councilmember Salvia.
Yeah, so 2 questions regarding completion of the project. So number 1, when this was granted site plan approval at Planning Commission, do we have a performance bond? And I thought in this, it required 100% completion of the project to complete the brownfield.
trying to understand the essence of the question. There will be, if we if we build so many units, but maybe not all of them, there will be a performance bond to restore whatever undeveloped land, like with grass or with landscape material. That will be in the agreement.
So
with the
remediated
city.
land, let's call it that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because at that point in time, that's what it will be. Trying to think the other part of your question that.
The other part, I thought I read in the agreement that, it's 11 years, but it requires 100% completion to get that full $2.9 million.
Well, like my little cartoon chart showed, the money just can only come from the increase in taxes.
Correct.
So if we do 80%, we'll never get 100% of the
Right, you'll
money,
you'll
but
never get
whatever-
it in the 11 years.
Yeah, whatever amount of increased tax happens over 11 years, that can be captured to pay as much of the $2.8 million as possible. If we don't
Yep.
finish, if we don't get all the money, then we won't.
Yeah,
get
I
all
get
the
it.
money.
The developer has the risk on that.
Totally.
Yep, I get it. This is to me, the brownfield process is it's a win-win tool
Yes.
for cities to get sites cleaned up. And I am 100% focused on cleaning up this site for our residents and the surrounding residents. And to me, it's a loan on future tax dollars. And so for the city of Rochester, we're a great partnership. We put no skin in this game, none.
Right.
And we potentially get this beautiful development that I keep looking at the pictures too, thinking, I don't know, do I like number 17 or do I like number 16? But that's just my comment on the brownfield, and thank you for clarifying the completion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Clausen?
Talked about the contract, is there any, I didn't see in the reimbursement agreement that there was any kind of sunset language, meaning if the developer doesn't start the project, kind of like we've seen in some of the other approvals, does this approval go on forever, or do they have to come back, like, for example, if they haven't built anything in 3 years, would they have to come back and get another brownfield approved?
So there's a clock that starts. So they are under the clock. So if you give approval tonight and they never do anything, then this just doesn't happen, right? So it's not like a site, just a regular site plan where if they don't start on it for a year, then it just goes away. Because what they've been working on this as far as, engineering goes, I mean, sometimes there won't be a shovel in the ground to show that it's going, but it is going. But it's up to them, the minute you approve this, it's up to them to get going, because the clock starts the first time they collect tax increment credit financing in April of 2027, right, is physically, that's the 1 year, okay? So if they don't, it's at their risk if they don't get going on this, because every day that goes by is less chance that they're going to get their full reimbursement.
Right, I get that. I guess what I'm saying is, when we were in our planning commission training, right, we talked a lot about how our special projects, a lot of those things we approve never sunset. So they're just approved forever, indefinitely. And this is one of these things that would be the same
So
thing.
the good news on this one, kind of weird, is it's a separate function, nothing to do with brownfield. If they don't start this project within 1 year, their site plan is done.
But my point
They'd
is
have
they
to
could come
and
back in
start over.
10 years. He could go to Florida, he could go to wherever he wants and decide, I'm not going to work on this project right
Site
now, we're
plan
going
will
to
be
come back.
expired. Site plan will be expired.
1 year.
1 year.
The site plan.
Right,
the
it
planning
wouldn't be the
commission
brownfield plan that is gone, it's the site plan that
So if
would
the
kill it.
site plan, then that makes this null and void and they have to come
That's
back.
correct.
Got it. Okay,
You
so
got it.
there's
Sorry, I didn't connect
restrictions.
that for you.
No, you're fine. That's good. There's a lot of information.
We are heavily incented to move early and often
Costs are going up.
to get this thing going.
Right.
We can go to public comment and we'll circle back around if anyone thinks of anything else. So I got to open up the public hearing, not public comment, at, what time do we have? 9:19. Anybody in the audience there has comments or concerns? Come on up. State your name and address, please.
Good evening, Cody Smith, 528 Ludlow. So this is not my first time in front of City Council or Planning Commission. I do not have a 37-page presentation today. So about 2 pages enough. From what I'm seeing from the developer, I think they are going to be successful with this project. I mean, I think there is a demand for these, and I think they will sell them out. So I think they will be successful. And at the end, if this goes through, I think the city will have a cleaned up site. That's a benefit for all of us. And the developer didn't contaminate it. They're trying to clean this up. But I think is missing in this conversation is Solaronics is kind of absent. I think this was mentioned before. Like, where are they in this conversation? They've been there for
69
years. Numbers, 79 years, right?
69.
69 years, sorry.
Yeah.
They may not have installed underground tanks, but they most likely used them in those 69 years, right? And in the environmental study that was cited as a source of the contamination is the tanks. And that's what, it may not be all of the contamination. But if you look up Michigan's Brownfield Redevelopment Financing Act, which is Public Act 381, it is in place to assist new non-liable developers in returning a property to a productive use. So that is this developer. They are they're non-liable developer. It cannot be used to reimburse cleanups that benefit a party responsible for the contamination. And that may be why Solaronics is not here, because they are a partially responsible party for the contamination. And why they cannot ask for this brownfield, and why it has to be a new non-liable developer. And then that's kind of what I feel is like a legal loophole, is how you can transfer, it's called ownership transition. And that's how these developers are here able to ask for a brownfield, because they are not responsible. However, that ownership transition does not automatically or legally absolve a liable party, the original polluter, of their responsibility or for environmental contamination. It's part of Michigan's Part 201 of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. The state can still force the original owner to conduct investigations and cleanups even after the sale. They are originally, contributing to the pollution. So, long story short, I don't think the Rochester taxpayers should lose out on the $2.8 or $2.9, whatever it is, $1 million worth of potential taxes. It's almost like a tax credit that we're going to give to them. So a partially responsible polluting company can make a profit off of selling that polluted land. I mean, they're asking us for $2.9 million of avoided taxes while they're selling the property for $2 million. So that doesn't seem fair to the taxpayers. I mean, the developer is trying to do this work. So if I own polluted property in this city and I came to you asking for you to give me $1 million to clean up my property so I can sell it for $2 million, I don't think that would go over very well. So I would encourage you to deny the brownfield proposal, hoping that, one of the two outcomes would pan out. That, Solaronics would be forced to do what it's, in reality, it's a polluted property, sell it for what it's worth. They're not going to make it work unless they get some concessions from somewhere. I don't think that should be coming out of the taxpayers' avoided taxes into the future. Or Solaronics cleans up the property themselves and then sells it as a market value clean property to whoever wants to develop it. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has?
Hi, good evening. I'm Renee Myers. I was a little bit late today, so I apologize for that. We did send a letter in advance, which I believe the council has received. We love Rochester. I grew up here. I'm a longtime resident. I started at U Hills and a while ago, not 69 years, but kind of close. Anyway, and we're really excited about this project. And we, as a potential prospective homeowner, we are in a big house and we want to stay in the community. We love this community, and whether that's this development or something else, we are going to continue to look within the city, because we do love Rochester and it is our home. But this has been a long journey for most of you and for all of us, and we want a clean site. I mean, it's right next to the park. It's where we shop at Dillman and Upton. You know, hopefully, knock on something, I'll be a grandma someday. My kids will play Little League on those fields. So it's in everyone's best interest to clean this up, to make it beautiful, whether it's this site or other brownfields that you're considering, because what's left in Rochester needs work, you know? But we want to stay here. We want to have a beautiful community. We want beautiful homes. We love our neighbors. We love our amazing downtown and all the facilities, but we want it clean. I'm not going to say who should be accountable for it. It's way above me and the scientists and the experts that are here tonight. But as a resident, I want the beautification of every single parcel in our city. And I don't want future generations to ever be questioning whether it's dirty or clean, or they don't need to know. They need to know that we live in an amazing town with an amazing community, with multi-generations that are keep coming back because this is home. So I've made my point. I'm sorry I was late. As you can see, I volunteer at Leader Dog on Mondays, and I came right from the dogs to here. So thank you for the time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Matt Ryman, I live at 821 Ludlow. Just to tie off of what everyone else has said, Klauser, Jessica Klauser?
Yeah.
I agree that it should get cleaned up. Wanted to clean up, but it really bugs me that Solaronics is going to be making $2 million when they're going to be walking away in a funny way, a fungible way. We're contributing $2.8 million if things work out. They're walking away with $2 million and not cleaning up at all. I think I'd like to see that $2 million they're supposed to get going into an escrow, and during the cleanup, take it out of the $2 million first, then start using brownfield. Because right now, if you just economically look at it, the value to Solaronics of that property is a negative $500,000. They can't sell it. Everyone said it. If nothing gets done, they can't sell it. So they have to pay property taxes, maintenance, just add that up. Just figure out a present value. So to them, if they could just walk away, they'd be making money, in my opinion. So I don't see why we should give them an incentive through this brownfield that's really benefiting, at the end of the day, it's benefiting Solaronics the most. Rochester, yeah, with the taxes in the future, but I just hate the idea of Solaronics walking away scot-free. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Anyone else? Okay, so I am going to close the public hearing at 9:27. And now we'll go back to council. I do have a couple comments that I will start with. So I just have notes. So I do believe that the city has skin in the game because the taxpayers are cleaning up the site. I mean, that's the bottom line. We're cleaning up the site. We changed the zoning for this developer so they could build there. So that's something else we did. And being a good steward of the funds of the residents, this is a really big decision. And I'm very torn. I feel frustrated. I understand, because I've heard it from many people, that if we don't approve this tonight, you're walking away. And I don't know, I get that. I get your reason, but it really feels like it puts us in a quandary. I feel like there should have been, we didn't get the brownfield report. That has got to change, because we don't know what they negotiated, to Mayor Pro Tem's point. I don't think they negotiated the dollar amount at all. And I feel like, to comments that have been made, both Councilmember King and Clauser, about, why are we paying for that building to be torn down? That would have had to happen anyway. So even a concession of $200 or $300 of taxpayer lost money, that's tearing down and getting that site ready for your development. I think the development's great. I think it is an asset to the city. I'm really just feel like we're all kind of in an awkward position, because basically there's been a threat of, and I've heard this from people, even in administration, that you're not going to do the project, you're done, tonight's it. We have to decide tonight. We cannot postpone this. We can't do more work behind the scenes. And as the city manager said, Brownfield are the experts, but we got 179 pages on Thursday. And as good council people, we felt we had to go through some of that. Well, that's a lot. You give up your whole weekend to go through 179 pages? So we can sit here tonight and be educated on how we're spending the taxpayer dollars, because we are. It's lost revenue. There's no other way to look at it. So anyway, that's just my summary of my thoughts. We do have skin in the game. There is no doubt about it. And we have to be very, very thoughtful in this decision. I know this is taking a long time, but it comes in front of us for a reason. Obviously, it's spending of money, and for us to have input. Any other council members have something to say? Councilmember Trent.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It is a hard one. When it's disappointing that the owner doesn't feel any responsibility for buying contaminated land that they know is contaminated land. And the only reason they dropped the price is because the developer can't make as much money and doesn't feel any responsibility, accountability for any pollution that could have happened before when they bought it. They must have known it was polluted. In 1960, or whatever they did. And then you've got the $300,000 that the developer would have had to pay, but, anyway. I mean, we keep biting off chunks of information, like, okay, that's $300,000, we get it. But then the hardest part is that, and I know it's going to be cleaned up property, but it's just that the owner doesn't seem to they don't show up. And I guess I would like to know, is it what Cody said, is this the developer, you put the new person in, so then there is no questioning of the owner of what they knew, when they knew it, and how, if they have any accountability. And that's the hardest part. And I would have this question no matter who comes before us, even though these people are really nice. So, I don't know.
Councilmember Klausner?
Yeah, I guess just process-wise is the next thing to vote? Is that where we're at here?
I want to say one more thing, just to because it does affect my vote. Is there any room for even negotiation on the fact that that building would have to come down no matter what? That's part of that was $300,000 that the city is funding the tearing down of that building. I have to ask.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was going. Are we done? Is that the vote?
A couple quick things, and then I'll let Len chime in. We can't speak for Solaronics. Yeah, they aren't here.
Right.
Yes, they have made concessions. Whether it's enough for some people, it isn't zero. They have recognized that their land has issues that are going to take more money than originally thought to clean up. And then regarding the concept of negotiation, the brownfield plan by its nature is that there are the costs, the eligible costs as defined by the state and law, and that's what this is based on, as prepared by consultants and confirmed by consultants. So negotiating is just we can't negotiate what the cost of the dirty dirt is, right? It is what it is. It's who pays for it, right? And if the city doesn't go forward, if this brownfield doesn't go forward, then we have to assess, well, can the project go forward? And we don't mean to hold a gun to anyone's head, never say never, but if we get zero, I can tell you the project can't absorb $3 million.
Right.
If there's some other amount, and the only thing we really have to kind of play with, because the costs are the costs, is there's a 15% contingency. You know, that's a risk number. You know, we could maybe reduce that down to 10% or something. That's worth $100 and some odd thousand. I think we'd be willing to take on a little more risk in that regard. The building demolition, 300 grand in eligible activity. We've made our decisions to date, assuming that this as an eligible activity would be included. So I don't think we can go all the way there. I don't know if we approach Solaronics and say, hey, you gotta puke up $1 million or another $500,000 or whatever. And then if someone else does come along, the cost to clean this up is more, okay, so we're under $2 million with them now. It costs $3 million to clean it up. No one's gonna spend $3 million to have something that's then worth, they just lost $1 million, right? So, I don't know if you wanna add anything.
First of all, difficult decision where you're in. I've done multiple of these. Doug, if you would pull up the contamination spots that were on the sheet. And we've got to look, we keep pointing a bit to Solaronics. And we've got about $380,000 worth of environmental work on this property. So we know it real well, to the point where we dug backhoe holes in the ground on top of just testing holes. The most contaminated portion of this property is in the upper right-hand corner. There is no Solaronics building there. Never was. It's not even their building. There was a transmission shop to the right of that corner for a period of time. They're thinking possibly that's where it came. The other area that's the dirtiest is the front right corner. There was a dry cleaner there. They're feeling that the dry cleaner and the type of contaminants that are in the soil go to a dry cleaner or petroleum facility where the transmission shop is. So just as a background, so you know where Solaronics should. As an industrial facility, you can keep it just the way that it is. If you did 108 or 119 apartments, we can put parking underneath, let the breeze go through, less cleanup. We got a lot of opposition on that. Didn't want us to do that. So we go, okay, what can we do? That's how we got to the amount of units that we do at ground level. So it created the downward spiral as a different density. The contract we purchased, we said, look, we can't afford it. We can't afford to pay this for your property. What can we do? We negotiated with them. They reduced the price. They agreed to hold this holding period. Normally you'd pay for due diligence every single year right out of your pocket. They didn't ask for that. They said, we'll eat it as long as you show us progress reports every quarter on what you're spending on this property and what you're doing with it. So we had to give them memos every quarter, all our bills that we spent on it and all our due diligence on it. Meanwhile, in their head, they're going, well, we can lease the building out to someone or we could sell it to someone else. So that's profit that they would have lost or had. And maybe I'm telling you all too much, but they owe money on the property. They don't have equity in it. They're going to walk away with about nothing at the end of the day. And they owe the bank because it's in the title work. It shows that. Now, I appreciate people's opinion and where they're at, where this location is. We've dropped the density. We have experience at this. We are taking a $30 million risk.
Yeah, right.
$30 million.
Yeah.
So it's to our advantage to do the about $400,000 of due diligence that we've done on it to take the risk. Many people will never do it. We feel comfortable with our experience and knowledge. We cleaned up 6 sites of this type of nature in the past. We feel good about it. We have 2 environmental companies that are on it, yours and ours. So we feel comfortable with that decision and the due diligence they did. We've done vapor barrier systems. We've done service contracts on vapor barrier systems. We've done testing wells. We understand all that. The bids to do the work is not negotiable. That's the bids. Those are bids that qualified people came in. Now, we may be able to get it cheaper. We're gonna try, because we do 3 bids on everything before we do the work. And then that 2.7 limit will come down. We want it to come down. We have to hold that money. For instance, we're paying for it. You're paying us back. We lose the time value of money for $2.8 million for 11 years by the time we get paid back. We'll just put that in the bank today at 7% or 6% interest.
Where are you getting that?
Yeah.
I think it's 4, CD.
Six.
Shoebox under your bed.
So.
We like the 7. Or you can invest it in the
You saw
stock
the market
market.
last year, the S&P 500.
Okay, you're putting it in stocks. Okay, you're putting in stocks.
Okay,
It
makes sense.
Go to your 401K.
We get it, yeah,
So
we
They
understand.
can go take that money, we go put it in there. So that's time value of money that we could put elsewhere in other projects.
Okay.
So we're making a huge risk. Is there some room? There's room in the contingency.
Okay,
Now,
I'll keep
let's
that maybe.
talk about the margin,
Yeah.
because that's the big thing.
Yeah.
We do it every day. We have multiple projects. If we don't do this project, it's fine. We're gonna live on, we're gonna do okay. And we'll move on and go do our thing. There comes a time where you gotta say enough, there's just no more room in the deal. And there's just no more room for us to take our efforts and do it that we've put into it. We can walk away, they get all the due diligence, we'll give it to you guys, you can have it, and we're just gonna write this one off and move on. There's not enough margin in it to a point a bank will even loan us the money, because we have got to show them that that service coverage ratio, how much, what the anticipation income's gonna be on the project. If we don't have the assistant, it's not gonna make it. They won't loan you the money to do it. So it becomes an economic question at the end of the day on our end as to where you go. We've shrunk it. We've lost the grant that we thought was $1 million. We worked hard on behalf of the city. Nick was way involved with that. They denied us, and we asked again. Then we asked for the director to get it. We showed them the location and the site. They said, sorry, we're just not doing it. So we've put every effort in. The project in itself is half designed. The rest of the plans need to be completed with the architect. It's beautiful. It also provides your community a missing middle that you have. People in larger homes that need to downsize a bit, it provides them a place to live, and it cleans up a site. And with 44 homes on that, it's gonna be less traffic, people coming and going through there than what we originally started with, so.
So just not to beat a dead horse, but
Right.
you're very good on your explaining everything. Why would the building be included in that? You would have had to take the building down anyway. I just want to, I know that they cover that because there's
Great
chemicals.
question.
But just that,
Great
so I can
question.
close the door on
The
that.
last brownfield committee, or the council asked the same question, because it's qualified under the 381 plan, and it's just dollars and cents. When those dollars go into there, we take that total dollar, we take the credit, and where does that ratio come out?
Whether we think it's justified or not, it's included in your dollar figure.
And it's included,
Just-
and it's, yep, in the 381 plan, and it's eligible.
Let me give you maybe another way to look at it. The state of Michigan, who's created this program, has also created the list of eligible tests.
Sure.
The mission of this brownfield plan statewide is to clean up properties and redevelop them into a better use, right? So they include demolition, they include sidewalks, they include other things that we're not including, but on some of our other brownfields, there are other infrastructure costs that are in the eligible list. And so that's what we rely on, what the law says, whether it's like, well, you would have had to do that anyhow. The state says, well, if we help with that, that will help the project go forward. Whether it had a direct tie to contamination or not. In fact, our 30-year brownfield in Royal Oak, it's tied to rent discounts, because it's a multifamily, 209 units. It's part of the brownfield plan, but we're able to offer 52 units at a discount rent. That has nothing to do with contamination, right? The site also happens to be contaminated, so there's a portion of our brownfield plan that deals with that. But the brownfield plan is not just contamination, it's economic benefit to make a bad property good again. And without going through the legal system and suing Solaronics and trying to find the cleaner that died 10 years ago, and where's the muffler shop and all that. It says, oh man, you'll never get there here. You put $30 million in, let's peel off some tax, pay for these stinking bills as long as they're eligible, they're verified, they're audited by third party, by the city, by any transparency you want. The brownfield, in fact, the money doesn't come to us. The money goes to the brownfield authority, and then they distribute it partly back to you,
Right.
here and there. So
I'm becoming an expert. I think we all are. So just real quick though, because you mentioned that there's room to wiggle on the contingency. Talk about that a little bit more.
So it's 15%, which amounts to 370 grand of the total. So if we drop that to 10%, that's worth $120,000. That risk, we inherit that, because the max amount will go from 2.8 million down to 2.67 or whatever. We could kind of, as a gesture, we could agree to that. We don't want to agree to reduce any of the costs, because the costs are the costs.
You got it.
But the
That makes sense.
contingency is just that, and we work really hard on our bidding, our pricing, our due diligence, so we feel
So you
good
might
that
not
we
even
won't
come
need
into that
all of
as
that
the bottom line,
contingency.
yeah.
So we're willing to forego a third of it.
Let me help you a little bit. Today, there's a site we're cleaning up. They did the manifest and they did the soil checking. It's not as contaminated as we originally thought. So today was a good day. And they took out,
Yeah,
was it 100 yards?
yeah, but they could take it not to the class 2, to the regular, Nick
It
said
went to the
early
regular
on.
facility.
If they dig and find
So,
gold, not
so
bad.
that budget in that brownfield went lower already.
Yeah.
Which is great. We don't have to pay it. That city doesn't have to reimburse us, and we're still improving that property. But we get pretty deep about that to the point we test each and every load
That's good.
that goes
I'm glad
out.
to hear that.
Because it's gonna save us money.
Right,
It's gonna
right,
save y'all money.
Right.
So,
Okay.
and this is the worst case scenario.
yeah.
So-
Okay.
That
and
makes sense.
It costs money to have someone there testing it. Our experience with pension and PM, they get it. There's a person on site, and you'll see their costs in there, and they test the loads, put them in, and they test them again, and we approve them every yards that go through. So we can try to minimize this, and we will work diligently to try to do that. It's to our best
to your
interest
benefit,
to
yeah.
do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. I've done a lot more listening tonight than talking for lots of reasons, primarily because I'm on Brownfield and I have, a little bit more of some background on this particular issue based on the meetings. But I want to just kind of refocus a little bit on what we're really here about. And the numbers are the numbers, the eligible costs are the eligible costs, the time, the term, all that is a function of math and formulas. But we have an opportunity, all of us right now, to clean up a site that is known to be contaminated, adjacent to the river, that when it rains, when it storms, it drains into that river. And the development is going to stop that. It's going to extract the contaminated material that's there, that's known. It's going to dispose of it in a regulated landfill. And in its place is going to be a containment system, so when it does rain, when it does storm, that stormwater is not going to go into our Paint Creek Trail, or the river, I'm sorry. And at the same time, it's going to clean up an otherwise unused site. And that unused site right now is generating about $30,000 in tax revenue, of which we get about $7,500. And I get it. We're going to forbear and forego revenue for a period of time for that improvement. But when it's done, as that chart demonstrated up there with the graph, that the tax value is obviously going to be significantly higher, And once that money is paid back, the city will get that in perpetuity, okay? And not only will we be getting an economic benefit, we're going to get, more importantly, an environmental benefit. And I think all of us as stewards of the environment, particularly where we live, that ought to be our primary focus. How are we going to clean up the area where we live, work, and play, particularly across the street from a trail or a park adjacent to a trail? To me, I appreciate all sides of the argument that, hey, it's a lot of money, this is a lot of time, why isn't the owner paying for all of this? I get it, but the law is the law, and the law says that the owner is not responsible for contaminating material that he didn't cause. We know from that chart that it came from other sources. That's why the Brownfield Act exists. So from my view, yes, it's a cost that we're spending, but it's an opportunity cost. And that opportunity that we're spending is going to get us a much cleaner area, a much more revenue-generated facility, and more importantly, we are going to get 45 new families in this city who otherwise don't live here. So for me, I think it's very clear where the direction this ought to go to. And so therefore, I'm going to make a motion to accept the Brownfield Plan dated November 13th, 2025, subject to any reduction in the contingency that the developer is willing to give. I thought I heard him say it was a reduction of half, I thought.
10%.
10% reduction.
No, it's a
So we need that exact amount to vote.
Doing the math.
Yeah.
And while you're doing the math, sir, I just want to make sure that we understand too, for that contingency, you only get it if you need it. It's for differing site conditions that are not known. So that number, we may ultimately get back no matter what if you don't, that's exactly right. So
Hopefully I'm giving you nothing.
that's right. We might get that back automatic, right, I hear you. But that contingency is also, I'm presuming, going to be approved by AKT Peerless. Jen will go through, and if they ask for more money, Jen has to, AKT Peerless, our consultant, will have to approve it. Is that right?
Yes, I will provide a recommendation. So what
There
I'll
you go.
do is I'll review and provide a recommendation. The BRA ultimately approves it.
Thank you. Okay.
So the value of 5%, going from 15% to 10%, has a dollar value of $123,097.11.
Okay, so my motion would be obviously to approve the Brownfield Plan dated November 13th, 2025, with the caveat that the contingency is reduced to $123,097.11. Did I say that correctly, sir?
I would feel better if we're not saying the exact amount. I think we need to take that off the 2.909, whatever it is.
However the math works out, it would be a corresponding reduction of contingency. Yeah.
But we're not saying the original amount. I would feel much better if we have the exact amount we're approving for this. So can we do the math real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
That wasn't it.
That was, yeah.
That's the math.
Take it off the 2.
I want you to take it off the 2.98409.
She wants the net number.
I want, yeah. Because we were approving 2009, I think,
2 million.
Yeah.
2,984,69. Is that correct, where we started? I'm so confused right now.
Correct. 2.7.
2.7,
We were 2,798,734. So if we can take off the 2,798,734.
Isn't that what we're doing?
The 2.9 was what it was going to cost. The 2.7 is what we were going to pay.
The 2.8 million, see.
Well, it was actually
the
2.7.
2.9 was the.
Is there a CPA in the house?
We're not allowed to use our phones in a public meeting, just FYI. That's why we cannot calculate.
Take your shoes off. Yeah.
I thought we were approving the number of 2.7.
Excuse me, Sarah Jo made a recommendation.
Okay.
Pension, Sarah Jo,
Yes.
if you weigh in.
So some of the costs are not eligible for contingency, so instead of doing this exact number, just say 10% contingency.
There you go.
Thank you.
Even better. Okay. All right, I will amend my motion to approve the November 13th, 2025 Brownfield redevelopment plan, subject to a modified 10% contingency in the plan for eligible costs.
From 15 to 10.
Yes, from 15% to 10%.
Support?
Support. I think I've been involved with this project with you guys since the beginning, and even before that, I saw I think, 3 different proposals that different investors, developers had come to the city. Some were going to lease it, and nothing was able to get off the ground. This is a really challenging property. There's environmental contamination. I live right by here, so I will be impacted by construction, by new people coming into the neighborhood. But I think it adds, a lot of things. It adds that middle housing. It cleans up this site. It is a very desirable location. While I'd love to place blame and have somebody take, more responsibility for it, I think environmental laws have changed since the 1960s when this property was last purchased, or 1950s. And so, they wouldn't have had the same requirements back then. So it's really difficult, I think, to have one person be responsible for it. I think this is a great tool that we have to be able to help fund the project. It's not coming out of our tax revenue today. It's just incremental, but we wouldn't have that incremental revenue without this project. So I'm supportive of it. I'm happy with the 10% contingency, and.
So I've got a motion by Councilmember Hauser, support by King. Is there any more discussion? Councilmember Trent?
No,
Okay, Councilmember Clauser.
Yeah, I just want a couple of comments, right? Because I was told this is the time we deliberate, right? So I'm going to keep going here. So a couple of things is, Councilmember Hauser said the math is the math, the formulas are the formulas, but we haven't seen that. We haven't seen the math. We haven't seen the pro formas. We see the high level numbers. You can see all the debate that's going on right here about what we're even voting on, the number. Like, it's a little fuzzy to me. And then you referenced, the eligible costs are in state law, which I agree with, Act 831. I'm not debating your eligible costs, but we do have discretion at the local level, and that's where we can implement local policies to put restrictions on what we will and won't pay for. So, for example, we could say we're not paying for the interest. We're not paying for the school portion of this. We can put our own restrictions on that. So I know we keep referencing Act 831, but that's at the highest level of authority of what you're allowed to do, right? So that sets the minimum bar for requirements for this project. So I just want to clarify too, we do have some flexibility, or we should have some flexibility. Do we have those policies in place today? No, which makes this a little challenging, but I just wanted to clarify that. The other thing I wanted to clarify too is the river, because Councilmember Salvia, the developer, Councilmember Hauser, has made several comments about the river and it being polluted and how this is our opportunity to clean it up. I specifically asked that question to our city administration in the brownfield. I was told there is no evidence that there's active pollution happening in our river, because then that led to my next question. If we know that there is active pollution that is happening, where again is the responsibility of the current property owner? So I was told there isn't active pollution. And then when I asked the question about what responsibility or what legal standing do we have as a city to go after that, I also didn't get evidence of what Councilmember Hauser said about there's law or precedent somewhere that the owner isn't responsible. That's not the response I got from the city attorney when I asked that question. To me, it read as that there is some ambiguity there and flexibility on what the ownership is. There was no state law quoted or anything like that to say we can't go after the property owner. So again, I feel like there's just more due diligence there that probably needs to happen given the deliberation that we're going through. So all that to say, I do think that, I want to be very clear about what I'm voting on tonight. And so I support environmental cleanup. I support redevelopment. I think you can go back through the Planning Commission and my track record. I cannot support, though, is the amount of public funding that's being requested here, and it doesn't feel like there's room for negotiation. This is a very large tax incentive, and I just do not believe we have been given sufficient detail or transparency to justify reimbursing the full amount on the taxpayer for all of those eligible costs. Even with the information that was presented tonight, I don't think that level of public financing is necessary. I think there should be negotiations. I think we should take that down. If we were talking about a $500,000 brownfield, that might be a little bit different. But eating the full cost is hard for me. And I just, making sure I'm hitting on everything because it's my last chance probably. So yeah, I just can't support that amount. I think, without the clear financial justification, you mentioned, the margin. I could tell you my back of the envelope margin, I think you're getting it's a $27 million capital investment is what you've presented in front of us. If you sell 45 units at $700,000 a piece, right, that's just basic back of the envelope because I don't have anything else to go off of, that's still $31,500,000. So there's $4.5 million in revenue that you're getting without us getting involved, right? So I'm not capping it, I'm not telling you what your margin should be, but you're not proving to me that public financing is necessary for this project, and that is my job, I feel like as a city council person, is to justify this and make sure it's proportional, and I can't support the amount. Again, I was hoping we would have more time, hoping there was negotiations and we could get to a better place where I felt comfortable, and the whole 27.89, I can't support that, sorry.
I just want to clarify one thing for everybody watching. There's no direct runoff from this property to Paint Creek. Every drop of stormwater on the west side of town gets into the street, the sheets to the street. Those storm sewers go to Paint Creek below Solar Onyx.
Well, it's indirect pollution.
That is correct. So it's anything that gets on the ground, oil from your cars, parking lot, that's a gravel parking, that gets to Paint Creek. So it's not them flowing in the backside. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I think the comments are just like, this is our opportunity, and it just feels like the river's not actually a part of this.
It is part of this.
It is.
Okay, I'm just going to end with or anyone else? Any other comments? Councilmember Trent, you did.
Wow, I was trying, what was I going to say? Yeah, I like the fact that it's middle housing. If this was $1 million, I would have a harder time to approve this, and I have been struggling now for several weeks on this. Really having a hard time, as we've said, that the owner isn't dropping the price, but you're saying you're giving us enough information to say, well, he's not making the full 2 million. I hate to, I get that. I'm so disappointed in that. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I'll have to sit here and think for a few more minutes about this.
And so
which seems like I have 3 minutes.
As I said earlier, I actually love the discussion, so I'm feeling better than when I sat down here. And I have to compliment both of you. How many hours now? Not getting frustrated. And I think through this whole process, because you said you've done this many times, so you're used to this, that you've been very respectful of our questions, and I really, really appreciate that. I'm a little with Councilmember Clauser and Councilmember King. So I'm like right in the middle of, I feel like this decision of not having revenue to that amount is a huge decision to make as a council member. I also want it to be a beautiful, developed area of town. So we need to vote.
Jones?
So, yes.
Vixen?
Yes.
Clauser?
No.
Hauser?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Salvia?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Stick around for e-bikes.
Nitroglycerin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
You guys were very patient. Thank you.
You were patient with us,
excited
and we
to see it.
appreciate that.
Jeff is starting to clock.
Okay, where are we at? Now,
What are we going to
where do
table?
go
What are we
from
going to
here?
table?
Oh
What are we
my
going to
God.
table? Can we make a motion to table?
Yeah.
I'm not joking on that one. I'm sorry.
I'm not either, but I'm not making a suggestion. But
If I may at this time make a motion to table the conversation on the e-bikes? And I
Yes.
would tell you why. I know when that issue first came up, it was in the fall, there was a lot of stuff going on, election and holidays. And I know that city attorney had asked for some comments back from us. And admittedly, I think he wrote in his note that none of us had gotten back to him. I do have some comments based on my own observations, and someone had reached out to me today. And I know there were some other emails. So I would like to make a motion to table the introduction of that e-bike ordinance until the next meeting, or maybe even the first one in February, just to afford us some opportunity to talk about that a little bit more so we can have a substantive conversation.
Motion by Clauser. Is there
Support.
Hauser.
No,
Hauser.
That's okay.
Motion by Hauser.
Support.
Support by Salvia. Can you take,
are we going to
Do we
table
have to
anything
sit?
else?
Yeah.
Jones?
Yes.
Vixen?
Yes.
Clauser?
Yes.
Hauser?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Salvia?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So now reports and regular business.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Just go.
Right, okay. Oh, my God, we're all getting delirious. Mayoral nominations and appointment to the Planning Commission. I would like to nominate to the Planning Commission for the open seat that was left by Councilmember Clauser to David Berletich. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Hauser.
Were you going to do a bunch of them?
Well, that one's separate because that's for, yeah, yep. That's okay. Madam Clerk?
Jones?
Yes.
Vixen?
Yes.
Clauser?
Yes.
Hauser?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Salvia?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Welcome, David.
Welcome, David.
Welcome.
Now you can't leave, though. You gotta sit for the rest of it. All right, now, the rest are city council nominations and appointments. And I was told by the clerk, I can do these in a bunch. So I'm going to do them in a bunch, and then we'll take a vote, and if anybody has any comments or changes, speak up. Hopefully I'll get them all. Okay, Parking Management Advisory, Mayor Pro Tem Vixen. DDA, Councilmember Clauser. Cemetery, Councilmember Salvia. City Beautiful, Councilmember Clauser is going from the resident representative on that to the city council representative on that. Sarah King will be the ZBA alternate position. And Paint Creek Trailways, there is a flip that's happening. Marilyn is going to step down as a representative, and King, that's what we're doing. King is going to be the council member on that one.
Marilyn would be the alternate.
And Marilyn is going to be the alternate.
So we'll flip.
I covered them all. Do I have a motion to support all of those?
Motion support.
Motion from Hauser, support?
Support.
Support from Salvia. Any discussion on any of those? Everybody's aware, we've all talked about them, right? Okay. All right, Madam Clerk.
Jones?
Yes.
Vixen?
Yes.
Clauser?
Yes.
Hauser?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Salvia?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Awesome, done. Consideration of quitclaim deed and temporary construction grading easement from the Trident Milton CRT relocation. We're going to start with City Manager Bandit.
Yep, I'll make this quick. So, the second blowout happened on the curve of the asphalt portion on the Trident property. So we went ahead, got engineering review. It was like $401,000 to do that. They came back, the contractor came back and said, if you could straighten it out, we could save you like $150,000. So, but that would require us to get we thought an easement to allow us to go on Trident's property. When we talked to Trident, which is Suave, they said, just draw it up, we'll just deed us the property, make sure you have a separate agreement that says when we come in someday to build, setback lines aren't taken from that 15 feet. The minimum setback there is 50 feet, so it doesn't even matter. So Attorney Crott wrote this up with their attorney, and they are going to give us that land, and we can now do a below water sheet piling and rocks. Only look so much better. It'll be a straight trail with new asphalt on it, and they'll repair all the trail that's damaged as they do the work. So huge win for us. Don't have to spend the money out of our bond.
City Attorney, anything to add to that?
Just briefly, so the quitclaim deed is for the actual triangular piece that we would be shifting it to. And so there's a second, so that's a deed, I prepared it, it's fine, or I was part of that. The temporary construction easement, that's the second agreement here. That just goes a little further into their property for a temporary period of time so we can get our construction things in here. So easy, I mean, that's just how it works is you get, I wouldn't even have brought that to the city except for the deed. So the temporary construction easement just lets us let us work in that area when we need to. So those are the two things, no cost, but they didn't want it penalized if they come in for their development. They want to use the original lot lines, which administration said that shouldn't be an issue. So I'm comfortable with them. I've been involved with their attorney on it. They've already signed it and ready to go. And this one's important because we've already backed up the contractor who wants to get going. I'm not pressuring you, but this is just, as soon as we sign this, in 2 days, they'll start working. So that's how quick you'll see it.
And we were going to do the big blowout first and this second, but because of the trout season, the spawning season, we only have 15 days after the 19th to get out of the river. I'm sorry, we have till March 1st to get out of the river. which is cut off 15 days earlier, and then we can't work in it until next fall. So it's like they switched and said they'll do this first, and there's no restriction on the big blowout. So this will only take them 2 or 3 weeks, they think, and then they'll move right to the big blowout when they're done with that.
Any questions?
I have a question. City manager, will there be transparency to the planning commission whenever they're reviewing some site plan that this exists?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It'll be
it'll
on their drawings.
Marked on the drawing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're putting that in their BSNA file, actually. So the good news is their new drawings or their approved plans are null and void. They did not renew their site plan, so when we start over, we'll make sure, it will show on the legal description now that it's different. So it's starting over for them. They don't have any grandfathering, and this is brand-new property lines, so.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the quitclaim deed and temporary construction grading easement as presented.
Motion by Salvia. Support.
Support.
Support by Mayor Pro Tem Vixen. Any other discussion or questions? Yes.
I just was
Councilmember
having
King.
trouble like reading the drawings. I think this is on Exhibit A. It's just that like bottom little corner, that's
Yes,
it? Like it's,
that's it.
okay, this is.
Little triangle.
If you walk on it, you will see.
Yeah. How do we document and track the fact that we've adjusted the lot line for building?
Isn't it?
They have to redo their legal.
Yeah, that's what I just asked.
So is that my question? Okay.
Talk to Councilmember Salvia. She has the answer.
All right. It's late.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Jones?
Yes.
Vixen?
Yes.
Hauser?
Yes.
Hauser?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Salvia?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Okay, next, consideration of a request to approve the construction drawing as presented and authorize Spawn Ranch to proceed with the construction phase of the project. Jason Warner.
Hello. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So, skate park.
We're not abandoning you, Jason, we know you got this.
Yep.
You can only sit for so long.
So, this contract was established with council approval on January 13th, 2025. Design development approved 6/9/25, revised design on 8/25. And now we're here with construction drawings, which were included in the packet. So this matches design development, features, size, square footage. The only difference you may see between this and design development is the orientation on the site. Once Spawn Ranch actually got down to drawing, it didn't fit in the angled layout or orientation. It kind of encroached into the softball field, so they had to move it a little bit north and straighten it. So otherwise, it's the exact same as design development. We have an entrance, which is here. I'll zoom in on this first. So very similar. AEW provided this for us. I asked them to give us the same as the design development. So it will attach to the existing drive and parking lot by DPW, and no impact to the budget. Entrance is still going to be paid for with donated funds. The actual skate park paid for with the bond proceeds as originally planned.
Any comments or questions? Councilmember Trent.
Yes, my understanding that we're going to lose the canopies.
They're going to be added later.
So
Yeah, so,
I
yeah,
want
I-
to say I'm really disappointed in
So
hearing that.
We're not
I
losing,
am.
we're not losing a canopy. We still need to finalize what that's going to be.
Because it was because what I liked about the project, that it was community-oriented, so people could come, and it was really like the fact that someone was saying that grandpas and grandmas, they want to sit and enjoy watching, it's a spectator sport,
Yeah.
And having that was a nice addition, so whatever can be done.
Yeah, the intent is to still have the canopy, and we are applying for more grants for that as well.
Okay.
That's
just
something I
wanted-
can sell. That's one of the things somebody could sponsor, right? Like the shelters we
Yeah,
did.
that's right.
Oh,
Somebody
that's
could
what
sponsor it.
We reapplied for the grant.
We did reapply.
We
yes.
reapplied.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to hear
I mean,
that.
just, to clarify that, two things happened, if you don't mind me speaking. Sure. One, because of the size changing, the entrance actually got bigger. And so it was going to actually be around $60,000 more. We knew we couldn't come back to ask for more money, we were told. So instead, we made it smaller, and we also know that we lost the grant. We had to spend it, invoice it, be done by December 31st.
Oh, yes,
We don't
okay.
even have the construction drawings to them yet. So we lost that grant, and that grant was going to pay for the shade structure.
Okay.
So
But we have reapplied.
we're very confident we'll get we will get those. We all want them to be back. So, yeah.
Want to
So,
give us the money.
Right.
I'm so
Yeah,
excited to
I
hear
would
that.
think they would want
I'm
to.
going from disappointed to, oh, I'm really excited now.
Yeah.
Really a lot.
And
Roller
Spawn
coaster.
Ranch is waiting for this to put us on their calendar. So once we approve this, Jason will call them tomorrow, and supposedly they're going to start in April.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so, and I can provide an update too, once I know more, but as soon as I call them, if it's approved tonight, I'll call them, they'll start manufacturing all the steel and getting all the materials that they need, and then, they'll let us know what their construction schedule looks like with other projects, so I can, let everyone know what that start date might be.
And just as a side note, Jason's been amazing through this process. There's been so many backs and forths and back to Rewald and changing prices and working with Spawn Ranch, and so thank you. It's been a lot of work, so. We need a motion to approve the construction plans?
Yep. I would like to make the motion to approve the construction drawings as presented and authorize Spawn Ranch to proceed with the construction phase of the project. Yes.
Motion by Trent, support?
Hauser.
Support by Hauser. Mayor, or not Mayor Pro Tem. Who are you down there, Madam Clerk?
Jones.
Yes.
Dixon.
Yes.
Bowser.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Salvia.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
All right, moving along, we have
Thank you.
made a motion to move, thank you, Jason, to move the discussion of e-bikes to a future meeting.
About E.
One more.
E.
The really most confusing thing of
Oh,
all
my
time.
gosh, I was so excited, I just crossed that right off. Okay, consideration of the notice of consent of defendant, City of Rochester, joint pursuant to MCL 560.224A1B, an order of dismissal, Kemp Brothers Investments versus the City of Rochester et al. Okay. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you. So Kemp Brothers owns two parcels adjacent, 239, 265 South Street. They bought it, they have an approved site plan for a project down there. As part of their getting through their construction documents, they found an easement that goes right through their property, and it says private utility easement. And so they can't proceed with their project while that's still and that was established when the plat was created, so a long time ago. So the process under state law to amend a plat, including removing that easement, is to file an action with the Oakland County Circuit Court. So you'll see, I included the pleadings, this is litigation. This is about as friendly of litigation as you can have, because no one hates anybody. It's purely because the state law requires this process. So that's why you see a whole bunch of people, the county resource commissioner, you see road commission, you see MDNR, you see everybody. So, because they have to name everybody, and it says in the statute. So I talked to a seal. This is not an easement that the city utilizes. This is not, we don't have anything in there. There's no issue if this easement over these two parcels, the middle of their buildings is where it would be. There's no issue on our part to be okay with the relief that's sought. The only thing they're asking for is to approve the replat at Circuit Court to remove that particular easement over their property. Several of the defendants, I'd probably say half of them by now, have already entered into a similar document saying, we're okay with, we don't object, Judge, we don't object, so enter our consent to it and let us get out of the lawsuit, so that she can check the box that everybody who has to be okay can go forward with it. So we're at that point. I prepared this document. The other attorney has been fine to work with. This is, he didn't want to go, he was trying every which way not to have to file a suit, but he came to the conclusion he did. I don't disagree. So what this document does is it says, we don't object to them amending the plat for the specific reason to take out that, the notation of that easement on their 2 parcels, right in the middle of the parcels. And it dismisses us with prejudice, so they can't bring it back for any reason. So if you authorize me to sign this, this is such a administrative thing in my mind that I didn't even have it in closed session. That's how basic I believe it is, but if you have questions, happy to answer it, but it's pretty straightforward as far as litigation goes and check a box type thing.
Councilmember Clausen.
Motion to sign the STIP in order.
Support. Support by Mayor Pro Tem. Motion by Clauser.
Hauser.
Hauser. Oh,
It's all right, we'll get it.
I'm tired.
It's all right.
Any discussion? No. Madam Clerk?
Jones?
Yes.
Vixen?
Yes.
Clauser?
Yes.
Hauser?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Salvia?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now,
Okay, we're gonna
we
do
received reports from the various
some
boards and
something funny,
commissions.
but-
First up is Councilmember King.
I am going to ask to put this on the next agenda.
Okay.
I apologize, I don't have my notes with me this
That's
evening.
okay, we're going to do that. We'll move on. Okay, Asset Committee. Is
Okay.
that Hauser?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay. We did this one last week? Okay, we did this one at the last meeting. Yes.
Okay, we're done.
We
Very
did.
good.
Yes, we
Awesome.
did.
Thank you. Okay, no worries. Paint Creek Trailways, and that would be Councilmember Trent?
Yes, and I want to thank Councilmember King stepping up for, on my behalf. I am very sad I have this conflict with another board, and I am more than happy to be an alternate, and the board already understands that there might be times that I can step in, and I will do it when I can, of course. So, yeah, I really enjoyed my first meeting, and I will make the January 20th meeting as well. Yeah, we discussed and had a discussion with Eastport Village Moshery Development representatives, and AEW was one of them. The development is in Lake Orion, and it's at the Jacobson's Flower Shop. So that is being purchased by Moshery, and what they were asking for were 3 pipes to go under the trail, and then 1 detention basin outlet that actually goes into wetlands on the overflow. So you can imagine, that's right up my alley. And so we had a really long discussion about that to make sure that there is a filter in the detention pond. And they assured me they did. They were following, of course, all the laws and rules that go along with that. And then we talked about my favorite subject, types of trees and shrubs. And they were going to bring the list of the trees and the types of trees and shrubs that they will be planting. And they did mention native plants as well in trees, because even in their documentation. So we also received a detailed trail manager's report from the new trail manager, Ingrid Cliffel. That was quite very talking about that she has to be at these meetings with the attorneys with the Moshery development and then the Paint Creek Bridge development, restoration. So basically that was pretty much it. And we looked at the budget as well, and that we will be talking about the Paint Creek Trailways budget in the next budget meeting, that goals and objectives that will be brought up, and maybe Councilmember King can help with that.
She would love to.
She would love to.
She's
already surprised of that because she was at the December meeting, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Report from the Planning Commission, this would be Councilmember Hauser.
Sure. Okay, there were 4 public hearings for projects that are in the pipeline. The first public hearing was for a new project at 134 South Main Street. This is the site of the former dry cleaners right as you come into town. That was approved. There was a public hearing for 139 Romeo. That was approved. Another public hearing for the latest iteration of the Graham, the farmer's market. There were some changes to the design and layout. That was approved. And then finally, there was a public hearing for a new business going into 1129 North Main Street. That was approved. There was also a conversation about some modifications to the community house and some changes to the plans that are being considered. My understanding is those revised plans will be brought back to the PC at the next meeting. And then finally, in some really disappointing news, but I understand why, David Gasson submitted his resignation. Okay, so there's going to be another opening on the Planning Commission. David Berlitich, who the mayor appointed and was unanimously approved, is going to be a great addition, but there's going to be one opening. And I'm very sensitive to the time, and I appreciate this, but I just wanted to get a little clarification, Madam Mayor, maybe even Mr. City Attorney. There's been some discussion about a particular ordinance or a code, 2-283, where it talks about members on Planning Commission being able to be on holding any other, quote, office or position with the city. And I'm bringing that up because I want, and I think we all should have clarification as to what the rule is as it pertains to a member of Planning Commission serving on any other board or committee. Now, I'll defer to the city attorney, but the operative would be office or position in the city. And I looked and scoured for the ordinance, and I didn't see anything that defined that. So maybe if you want to give us some guidance, but just my personal view, I don't think it means that the intent is that if you're on planning, you can't be on something else, because I know David's on a couple, Matt Stone is on parking. That's a.
The mayor,
yeah. It's a, well, ex officio. Ex officio can do it, yeah. Dave Gasson was on zoning for 30 years, Matt Stone on parking. I mean, every meeting we talk about payment in lieu of parking. I mean, that's an asset. Dr. Laura Murphy, who's on City Beautiful. I mean, so these are some overlaps here that I just want to know, because if someone's applying and they're on another committee, I think we owe it to him or her to say, hey, listen, if you're going to be on planning, depending on where we land on this, that person may have to forbear or give up an opportunity on another board. And I just, my own view, again, and I'll defer to everyone else, and particularly city attorney, I don't read that ordinance to mean that. I look at it as office or position, meaning you're an elected official or you're employed in some type of department with the city. That's my view. Always ready to hear from lawyers.
So I did have a chance to look at this last week. There's two members that kind of said, hey, what does this mean? And I can't give you a definition of what those mean, because they're not defined anywhere. I've never had an opportunity to look at it to say, those aren't terms of art that necessarily City of Rochester. I would lean more towards Councilmember Hauser's office or position. Office, clearly in my mind, if you're asking me hey, what do you think about it? Is a public official office situation, elected or, these are my thoughts, right? Because they're not defined anywhere. So position, I would have a hard time. We have had a lot of people on planning commission who are on other boards that aren't city council. City council members are easy because it says this doesn't apply to people who are on planning in an ex officio matter, which is the mayor plus one, right? So but we do have others that this would apply to. So rather than trying to, I guess, come up with a thought on what that means, I would suggest that either, if we don't think that should be a rule, let's clean up the ordinance. Many times you guys have told me, if it's in here, let's apply it. And if we don't want to take it, if we think there's value to it, if there's a reason to not have a planning commission member on another board, then let's flesh out what situations we would want that. So I would say, rather than trying to, that's a great question. I had to read it 6 times because someone's never asked me, hey, what does that mean and how does it apply? So I think it would be better to say, let's figure out what we want it to mean.
I agree.
And if you don't, if you think it shouldn't apply, or if that's just something then let's take it out.
Or if we do, make it more clear.
Make it clear as to what does it mean, elected official?
It's going to be a future discussion.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a, I don't know if you have any plan or study sessions coming up or a brainstorm where people want to think about, hey, give us some thought, because this is, again, I had a chance to look at it last week, as obviously Councilmember Hauser and Councilmember Clauser, she mentioned the same thing to me, and I didn't have a good answer. And sometimes that happens, so let's make it so it is clear what we want.
I just got a quick comment. Sure. So it used to be, back in the day, I'm not talking about council members, but you were only allowed to be on one board. But now we have had a proliferation of parking committees and
Yes, that's right.
some of that, so that's a little harder. But it used to be, if you were on planning commission, you couldn't be on anything else. And the thought behind that was, well, then there's no conflict that you're on all kinds of different things. So maybe that work session is, if you're on planning, you can't be on something that has to do with planning, or if, that kind of thing.
Plus, if I may, plus what complicates this too is there's also, state statutes that will sometimes play effect of, like, you can have a city council member on a zoning board. You just appointed one today, right? Well, not that that's a planning commission, but sometimes there's even state law that says, that is not reflected in your code, that may have an influence. So rather than guessing, I think it's good. If you want to have a prohibition, let's define what that prohibition is in different terms other than office and position. I think that's a.
So we'll table it for now.
And one other thing too is, back in the day, as a way to get people on boards, they used to appoint a city council person as a citizen member of different boards. And I don't know if that's such a good idea either. So that, and there's still remnants of that.
Yeah.
Like Ben, DEH.
Yes.
That's how he ended up there, was he was a citizen.
Took it out.
I think this opens up a bigger discussion.
But we actually had
about
the
all of
city manager on a board as a citizen. I believe that.
And I certainly wasn't expecting an answer tonight. I just wanted to throw it out there for moving forward. That's fine. Yeah.
And if people have thoughts in the meantime, before it comes back, email them to me, call me, whatever, just because I want to get a sense of where your head is too, and we can flesh it out at a meeting, of course, but if people want me to think about, hey, I really think this conflict, because it really applies to only planning commission members, so 7 of the 9, because 2 are out, so 7, is it important to have 7 of 9 not be on any other boards? Is that really what you want? Then we'll change it, but if not, we'll figure it out.
Okay. That's all I have for the planning commission, so thank you.
Principal shopping district is vacant, so if
I
anybody wants to.
was there, I can do it quick.
You were there,
It was-
but if anybody wants to, there is not a council member on that.
Yeah, they would like a council member if they could. So it was really simple. It was a goals and objective meeting. So the promotions committee had met that morning, and then they are kind of the influencers for the rest of the PSD. So they talked about a couple events like their movies in the moonlight. They don't feel like they're getting the bang for the buck anymore because Rah-Rah's doing movies, other places are. So they said, we'll do a pause next year on movies on the moonlight. But because Mayor Pro Tem loves dancing at Dancing in the Streets, they're going to have a second night of really good bands at the at Dancing in the Streets, so Friday night and Saturday night. So they swapped that money. So they figured out, they actually saved, I think, $6,000 with that swap even, to pay for a band for the second night and no movies. So, and then they just went through basically all the other events, and then, and it was good to me. It was until like 7 o'clock, so they did fine.
Do I get to pick the band?
You can, absolutely.
Okay.
They know your band, they know the one you like.
Yeah, they know the one you like.
The report from OPC, Councilmember Salvia.
Yeah, that's me.
Mayor Pro Tem, sorry.
We had our first meeting. We had the election of officers, and actually I was elected chairman of the board.
Oh, good.
And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And Al Fisk.
Awesome.
Al Fisk is the secretary, so Rochester is well represented.
That's great.
On the board. Rochester Hills changed out a number of their people, so we have different council people on, which they do every year. We approved a special license so you can have liquor at certain events.
Whoa.
Yeah. My first act was to sign the liquor. And then we have a special meeting February 5th to talk about strategic planning. That's it.
Thank you.
Great. If we could just correct the name on the agenda, it is not older person. It is OPC, Social and Activity Center.
Okay. On their
I saw it somewhere in the packet.
Oh, here, okay, gotcha.
All right,
Got
we
it.
move to public comment. both online and here. Anyone here?
Chief John, we're
Yeah.
going to ask to recognize Chief John.
I will recognize Chief John.
As Chief John walks up, we talked about, I appreciate how much he's been working with Chief Scott, and we will have a celebration for Chief John, probably a couple of them, actually. We're going to have one in this room with a cake, and he hates all this stuff, but we're going to do it anyway. So we'll let you all know when that is. It'll probably be into January, beginning of February, and then there'll be another situation that we'll work out later. But he said, do you mind if I say a few words? I'm like, Mayor, can we?
Yeah, take it away.
Thanks for inviting me up. I guess I picked a great meeting to be.
We're sorry.
So did Scott.
I know, I was thinking the same thing.
Normally, most of the time when I'm up here, I can pretty much wing it and go from memory. Except this is kind of an emotional time for me, as this is the last time that I'll stand in front of you as the fire chief. Got a great replacement back there. So Madam Mayor, City Council, City Manager, my colleagues who I've been working with, and the residents of Rochester. The Rochester Fire Department was established in 1895. In more than 130 years, only 10 people have served as the fire chief. 2 have served longer than me, and I've served the third longest. I've always tried to keep that in perspective. You don't own this job, you just trust it or you just fill it for a while and prepare it for the next person. I joined the fire department back in 1976. I became the fire chief in 2008. And somewhere here we are, standing almost 50 years since I've been on the fire department. When you add it all up, I've spent nearly 5 decades on the department, and nearly 40% of the entire history of the department, I've been able to wear this uniform. And that's nothing I really planned, but it just seemed to have happened. A lot's changed over those years, but the mission never did. We worked hard to make the department better for the people we serve. We improved our ISO rating from a 5 to a 3. We put Rochester Fire in the top 8% of fire departments in the United States, something that I'm very proud of. And that is because you all supported that process. We also went ahead and started an advanced life support ambulance service in the community. Again, something you all supported. And I can't tell you how many lives that's made a difference in. We also secured about $3 million in grant funding, which helped us to improve equipment, training, and the staffing without putting everybody on the back of our taxpayers, which you guys have always worked on, of trying to be frugal in the way we spend the money. And we built a hybrid staffing model combining full-time and part-time firefighters so we could deliver professional service and still be fiscally responsible. None of those accomplishments, as I said, would have happened without the support from City Council. You understood that public safety isn't just an experience, it's an investment. And all through the process, you asked the difficult questions of me to make sure that we followed up and we were looking at the best possible matters. I also want to take a second and specifically thank Councilmember Stuart Bixson. Stuart has been on the council since 1999, including multiple terms as mayor and mayor pro tem, and provided steady, consistent support for public safety on the fire department throughout my time as a fire chief. Stuart, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I know this rest of the city council appreciates it. None of this, every day the department protects nearly 4 square miles and about 13,000 residents. That might not sound big on paper, but when somebody needs help at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's the main thing, that we respond and we get there. None of this happened because of just me. It happened because of the firefighters and officers who showed up for each emergency, ready to do their job. I was fortunate, truly fortunate, to be able to lead the men and women from the fire department to serve this community. I also want to collectively, like to thank the leadership that Nick has given and the rest of this administration staff, the rest of my team, and the way that they've supported myself and the fire department. But the people who deserve the biggest thanks are sitting at home tonight. That's my wife, Nancy. Nancy's lived this job right alongside me. There were countless family dinners, holiday birthdays, events that I left early or missed completely because the pager rang and someone needed help. Nancy never questioned it. In fact, when I go out the door at 3 o'clock in the morning, she'd say, "Have fun with your hobby." She carried more of the share that she probably really needed to, and she never complained. And to my kids, Sarah, Julie, Joe, and Emily, thank you for your patience and understanding. You gave up knowing that your dad might have to leave in the middle of something important, a dance recital, a basketball game, or a soccer match, to go ahead and leave to serve the community. Fire service is often called a calling, but what we don't say enough is that the family commitment, not just personal one, and I've not been able to do it without my family. And that's what every firefighter does in this community. I've always believed that the fire chief is really just a temporary caretaker of the department, someone whose job is to leave it stronger than they found it. I'm proud of where the Rochester Fire Department is today, and I'm confident in the good hands moving forward will be continued support of the city council, and I know you'll help Scott like you've helped me. To the members of the fire department, thank you for trusting me to lead you. To the residents of Rochester, thank you for your confidence over the years. And to my family, thank you for everything you sacrificed. And again, I want to thank City Council for your support. It was truly a privilege to serve you. I want to leave you with just one little story. As most of you know, I worked for 33 years for Ford Motor Company, and sometimes the fire department gets into your head. So I was in a hotel in the city of St. Louis next to our assembly plant there, which happened to be next to a fire station. So I went to bed, and about 1 o'clock in the morning, I hear a siren. And it was a federal queue on a fire engine. So like a good firefighter, I jumped out of bed, started to get dressed, got my clothes on, and I got to the door of the hotel room and said, "Wait a minute, I'm in St. Louis." So again, City Council, thank you so much for your support. I leave you now as the fire department. I might just want to come back to council meetings to enjoy all of you and to say thank you again.
That's really
So thank you again, City Councilor. It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to serve you, and thank you for giving me that privilege.
Celebrate his career properly in the next coming weeks. So, and we'll talk more about it then.
All right. Thank you. That was moving, and thank you. Thank you. Any other public comment? Anyone online? No, mine right now. Brian?
He could be out cold by this point. Thank you, Brad. Well, we know you're not, but
I don't think anybody's online.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go through city manager.
Again, we've had good, Ms. Turner's question was very legit. So our guys are busting their butts trying to keep this place as clean and safe as possible. We implore the residents during these ice storms, anything you can do to get some salt down. It doesn't work half the time, but we're proud of our team. They've been all over it. We've been lucky, sickness-wise. You know what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah,
and our staff up front, everybody's taking proper precautions. Anthony literally still comes in and disinfects this place on the weekend. So you don't know that, but all this is getting sprayed down all the time. What? So we're thankful for that. We're thankful for everybody being conscious. If they have been sick, they go home. And we're all praying for Joellen. She's about tomorrow to start a pretty tough situation. So on Thursday, I believe. So keep her in your mind, and that's it.
City Attorney.
Just a quick follow-up on the admin building. And while we were looking, I did check in the zoning ordinance, and where it's zoned, community center is listed as a special exception use. So
no change of use.
It is a permitted use if it's a special. So it is a change of use, but it's not out of the zone.
Rezoned, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's in proper zoning.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem will go this way.
Yeah, one quick thing on the fire chief. He said he came in 2008, the fire department was in crisis, and the chief came in and solved that problem, and, the rest is history. So I thank him for that. And I'm thankful that I don't have to get up and go to Waterford Mott at 6:15 tomorrow morning. So thank you.
Councilmember Trent.
Yeah. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
And we had a very successful 2025, and I'm looking forward to this year and working with this council and the city management and the city employees in 2026.
Thank you. Councilmember Hauser.
No, just Happy New Year to everyone, and Chief, thank you very much for all the work that you've done for our city. It was a very nice comment and speech that you had there, okay? It's very much appreciated, and all the best to you in your retirement.
Councilmember Salvia.
Thank you. Thank you, Fire Chief. That was very moving. Happy New Year, everyone. And then I guess my only ask is, council has not discussed the master plan implementation September 23rd. I know we have struggled to get that scheduled. If maybe we need to take over a council meeting, I went through my notes, it was September 23rd.
We're kind of frustrated we can't get all of you in the same room.
Well, now, yeah, they ask again for our date, so hopefully we're able to do that.
I sent dates.
Councilmember King.
We are, a couple of us are meeting with I forgot the woman from the park system, from Burke. We're going to be meeting on Wednesday to talk about playground equipment. So more to come on that. And I just wanted to say thank you to Fire Chief for all of your years of service. Pretty incredible that you've been with the city for that amount of time and have given so much time and I think really built a community. The fact that you open up the fire station for the, community breakfasts and you host everybody before Lanyap and everything, it's really wonderful. It really creates a sense of community. So thank you for your service.
Councilmember Clausen.
Well, I grew up in northern Michigan. I was raised with southern manners. And if I had known this was going to be a goodbye, I would have brought a gift. But I just want to say.
There's still time.
Yeah, I hear that we're going to have some parties coming up. So I'll save my goodbyes and thank yous for then too. But sincerely, thank you and congratulations on retirement. Just a couple of things too I want to make note of, and I hope this is appropriate. I think this is what this is for, but to recognize some places where I think our city's getting national attention. So the first one was at the library. I don't know if anyone knows, but they hosted a PBS library special that was live broadcasted to New York City, and it was with a New York Times bestselling author, Catherine Newman. So amazing job. It was well attended. Novel Bookstore was there. It was a partnership, private-public partnership. So great representation for our community. So just kudos to everyone involved in that. The other thing is the American Revolution experience that's at the library right now. That's also a national, I think, exhibit, and there's only like one of 7 cities.
One of 10.
10 in Michigan.
Daughters of the American Revolution, Stony Creek chapter.
Yeah, so that is amazing, and that we got that, and they did such a great job at the ribbon cutting. And then I would also say Home Bakery and the Lion's Cake, amazing. It's such a small thing, but it really speaks volumes to what local businesses mean to Rochester. They show up, they celebrate with us, they create these shared moments, they bring people together. It's just amazing. So I wanted to say that. And then lastly, I joined the Heritage Festival Committee. So I won't give an update on this. I did attend the last one, but we'll give an update on the next one. But I don't know how we recognize that, but just wanted to let you know.
Okay. No, thank you.
That was it.
So tagging on to that, the other thing, I don't think we've met since Fox News did their downtown. So if everybody saw that, we are getting a lot of great press.
Yeah.
Even in Community Lifestyles and the Rochester Post, I feel like we deserve the press, we're getting the press. I was going to talk about the public library, I already did. And there is a tree survey that came to my house. I should have gone to everybody's. It's like a national survey, so fill out your tree survey. And then
That's a random pick.
So not everybody got one?
I didn't get it.
I feel pleased. They're sending me some trees because I filled it out, so I'm very excited. I thought about Councilmember Trent.
You're special.
I am special. There's a spaghetti dinner at the fire hall for Raya on Saturday night. It's because Fire and Ice is this weekend, correct? So we build on Fire and Ice because we have it then, and that is the first time I met Chief, so I will just tell the story. As far as community work, you have been amazing in supporting Raya, does a lot there. And the first time I met you was for a pancake breakfast, and I believe you yelled at me because I was in the wrong line. So that is how, you're like, we do the pancakes over here. I'm like, okay. You're supportive, you're great, you have covered us and the nonprofits that want to be there. Thank you for your service. It's very much appreciated. And that's it.
Fire and Ice, I should have said something.
Yeah.
So Friday, 5 till 9, no fireworks, but remember, DDA, this is not the county, this is the DDA. Christy, Jen, and Taylor put this together, the biggest snow slide in the state or something, the biggest bounce house. We've got the ice carving competition. We have a synthetic ice rink that we're putting up, so you don't have to worry about if it's cold or not. It's supposed to snow and be cold, though, so we should be good there. And then Saturday night, it's from 10 till 10 on Saturday night, and there will be fireworks. So I think they go off at, there you go.
So the date is?
8 o'clock?
The date?
8 o'clock.
Last weekend for the lights?
Yes, and then Sunday night at midnight, we're done.
So when is the date? This Saturday.
This Saturday is the
Oh,
fireworks.
this
Friday night is
Friday night is the-
oh, and there's a big beer tent that the Mills is doing.
Okay.
It's kind of like when the county's there, but it's us.
Yeah.
But there's no stage and all that stuff. They're just playing music through AI or something. So, but it should be really fun, and it's all locally pushed on by us. The sculptures are back on Main Street, all that good stuff.
So go downtown this
Go downtown this weekend.
All right, we're officially adjourned at 10:49. Wow.
Wrestling, now I gotta stay up to
I know.
Reminded me to
didn't
go
get up.
to bed about 20 minutes